The IndyCar Series, a collection of tracks and teams in competition with its roots stemming back to the hallowed grounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a spectacle, 200 laps and 500 miles in the making. The 89th Indy 500 is on. A living shrine dedicated to the legends before and legends to come. Danica Patrick, number 16, leads the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500. A track that breeds immortality for its winners. Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500. It's a series that campaigns that history and excitement to every inch of every track its drivers battle on. Vitor Mir tries to slip to the low side. Can he get it done? No! Sam Hornish Jr. made contact with his teammate Elio Castro-Neves. Brian Briscoe, number 33-year leader. How long can he hold on? They come together. We got screwed. Big problem on the racetrack. It's the 33 of Brian Briscoe.
Something was on my side that day.
Scott Sharp, number 8, the first win this season.
We've worked so hard for this.
Dan Weldon has officially become the 2005 IndyCar Series champion. The 10th season of the IndyCar Series concludes today at California Speedway. And we are living large in SoCal on Firestone Race Day as we welcome you to the Inland Empire on a somewhat of a gray day as we bring the 2005 IndyCar Series to a finale. Dan Weldon is the champion on two fronts. He is part of the British invasion, claiming the IndyCar Series title in 2005 and the most coveted title, as he has said, the Indianapolis 500. As we take a look at a year that was for Dan Weldon, well, it doesn't get much better than this. 6 wins on the season. That is a record, and the first time a driver has won both the Indianapolis 500 and the IndyCar Series since 1995. It is a great day to be in Southern California. Todd Harris along with my colleague Scott Goodyear. What a long and strange trip it's been since we started off early in the year back in Florida. But we look at Dan Weldon today. Does he have something to prove? Because he would love to get that 7th victory.
Well, he's proven all year that he's fast and he's talented. He certainly wants to win today. Maybe some luck has been on his side because he had a problem in practice this morning and they found it before it got into the race. But we've got a whole list of people that really want to win today, Todd. And the key thing, I think, for everybody on that list that we see right now is do a great finish because they want to have the opportunity to speak to the team owners next year and say, you know something, I'm fast. I just won the last race. I need a ride for 2006. There's a lot of uncertainty out there right now on that list of drivers.
So much talent that has yet to visit victory lane this year. Will it be Buddy Rice's breakthrough day? Will it be Vitor Mir's? But Danica Patrick, many people thought she would have picked up a victory by now. It has not happened. This track, a little dicey. Can she get it done? She is the 2005 Rookie of the Year champion. Scotty, is this the place for her?
The real deal. That's what I hear down the pit lane all the time because they know that she's fast, she's competitive. Look at some of these stats right now. Always fast, taking a look at the pole. She starts 4th today. A great opportunity to win. Ray Hall Letterman likes this type of track. It's very quick, 215, 220 miles an hour all day long. I expect she'll be there at the end of the day.
The real deal, no question about that. 3 poles in 2005 and 704 media appearances, folks. That's right, 704, and she's handled all of them with class and grace. For more on the Rookie of the Year, let's check in with Vince Welch.
Well, Todd, of the 12 drivers who've won in the Indy Racing League IndyCar Series, it took an average of 33 starts to get their first win. Today is Danica Patrick's 17th start. As you mentioned, she is the Series Rookie of the Year, also the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year. And I asked her before she got in the car, what do you feel like you have to prove today? And she said, I believe every driver feels as though he or she has something to prove every time we get in the car. No question, Danica and the champion, Dan Weldon, have been the 2 most mentioned names this season. And no question, they're 2 great competitors, but they also aren't afraid to have a little fun together.
Regis and Kelly or Dr. Phil?
Regis and Kelly. Leno or Letterman?
Easy. I'm going to go with your favorite guy, Letterman.
Dan Weldon, ladies and gentlemen.
Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
Beatles.
That's nice.
Leather or silk?
Leather.
I'm in love, boys. I'm in love. Okay, Times Square or the red carpet?
The red carpet.
You've always been one for the camera.
Fun, isn't it?
It's all good.
Yeah.
She always has to bring my personal life into every interview, this girl, huh?
That's what they want. Redken or a Beta?
Oh, you're funny. A Vader. It's only a Vader.
I don't know the difference.
English sheepdog or miniature schnauzer?
Miniature schnauzer. Got 2 of them.
Flute or cowbell?
Cowbell.
That was easy.
More cowbell. You always need more cowbell.
Tom Cruise or Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell. Because of cowbell. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan.
He has got a little crazy, hasn't he? Emerald cut or pear cut?
Neither. Princess cut. That's what I have.
All right.
Paris or Angelina? This will tell a lot.
Oof.
You got to choose carefully because you're eliminating half.
It's easy. It's Paris.
Dan and Danica, 2 of the compelling personalities in the story this year in IRL IndyCar racing. And who can forget the Indianapolis 500? Daring Dan, he stole the race, but Danica Patrick stole the show in the hearts of millions of Americans. And today, if either one of those want to steal a race, they're going to have to go around or through this guy, Dario Franchitti, who is the pole sitter today. And he told me moments ago, Doc, I am on a mission. We have had miscues, misfortune. I should have had 4 or 5 wins. I have only 1. I want to finish the year up front. And if he does win it and secure that mission, he'll make history because no one has ever won here at California Speedway from the pole. He would be the very first. Watch Dario early on. Let's check in with Jamie.
Well, Doc, we continue to dry things out here at California Speedway. Now, when we return from the break, I will introduce you to one of ESPN's most famous athletes. He's a legend on 4 wheels, but it's 4 wheels of a different kind. That's when we come back. Welcome back to California Speedway for the Toyota Indy 400. Well, the sun is peeking through the clouds, and that's great news for all of us here anxiously awaiting our final race of the season. Now, I talked about him before the break, Tony Hawk, the legend on a skateboard, checking out his first ever IndyCar race. Tony, welcome to IndyCar.
All right, thanks. I'm excited.
What are your first impressions so far?
It's real loud here, but it's super fun. I can't wait to see these cars. I know they're like 250 through the straightaways, and we're right here. It's just going to be amazing.
They're very fast. They go about 220. 250 sounds better, but
yeah,
hey,
well,
you were out there actually performing earlier. It rained, but everybody was telling me they couldn't pull you off your pipe out there.
Yeah, well, we got a little late start because of the rain, and then we drive up the ramp, started skating, and they kept saying, okay, we got to go, Grand Marshal, let's go. We're like, 1 more run. Okay, 2 more runs. And then finally just came off the ramp, pads on, came straight out to here, and here we go. We're starting.
Now, you are the Grand Marshal today. You get to start this whole thing. We're just a few minutes away from race time. Are you a little nervous at all?
No, because I got the easy part.
Have you been in a pace car yet?
I haven't been in the pace car yet, but I don't think that one's going to go 220, right? Am I?
No, I think you're safe there. So we'll check back in with you for the most famous words in racing, all right?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Vince Welch?
Standing by with Roger Penske, the man who built this race facility, California Speedway, the first race here in 1997. And from an IndyCar perspective, you've not won here. One of your teams has not won here. How important would it be for you to get a win today?
Well, I think it'd be a great chance for us to, finish a great history here at the Speedway. Obviously, this was a track that we built. We took all of the things and put in place. We helped with the spectators, certainly the drivers and owners. But to have a win, that's what we're here for. And with Sam and Elio, I think we've got a good chance today.
You don't have an opportunity to win the championship. Dan Weldon has already locked that up. But how important is it to finish the season on a high note as you look ahead to 2006?
Well, there's no question that if you can come out of here with a win, that gives you the momentum for the next year. We've had a great year, lots of poles, some wins, both drivers. We come out of the win, both of them talking to each other. That's good. And we're excited about the future. But, again, that's an important race. This is a tough race. And, it's down to the last positioning yourself in that last 5 or 10 laps.
Thank you, Roger. Now let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch with a very important story. Doc?
We talk about how important engines are here in all kinds of motorsports, and there's no doubt this year that Honda has been the heavyweight in terms of the horsepower category. They won their 2nd consecutive Engine Manufacturers Championship, powered Dan Weldon to a Drivers' Championship, and of course, yesterday a major announcement from Honda. They will be a major supporter of the Indy Racing League IndyCar Series through 2009, and they've even told the folks that they would support the entire field in terms of engines if asked to through 2009. So a major announcement by Honda yesterday. And oh, by the way, today Tony Kanaan starts in 10th spot. He'll have a Honda on board. He'll light that fuse early on. It should be fun watching him make his way to the pack, through the pack early on here toward the front. So a big year for Honda and a big announcement for the future of them here in IndyCar racing. Guys?
All right, thank you, folks. We are almost set to go as they start to warm up that green flag. And the man that'll do the honors today, NFL Hall of Famer John Elway. Played college football just up the road at Stanford. We'll see how he does when the flag drops in Fontana after this. ESPN's presentation of the Toyota Indy 400 is brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward. New Q from Quaker State, the heat-activated oil that helps maximize the power of your engine. And Target, expect more, pay less. It is the beautiful Pacific Ocean. We go to the Inland Empire, and that's where we find Vince Welch on pit road.
Standing by with team owner Bobby Rahal. His team has won a race every year since 1998. You're running out of time. Today's the last
now or
race.
never, right?
What do you think your chances are today?
I think they're pretty good. I mean, Danica and everybody was pretty happy with the cars this morning in traffic, and you know, but this race, a lot of crazy stuff happens, so who knows? We'll see.
We'll be keeping an eye on it. Of course, he has former Indy 500 winner Buddy Rice as well. It's been a tough season for Buddy. Well, how big it would be if the 15 car could go to victory lane today. Todd?
All right, thank you very much, Vince. As Bobby Rahal paces like a nervous cat, it is going to be a great race day, and we thank the folks at Firestone. We thank you for joining us for Firestone Race Day here from Fontana, the 17th and final race of the 2005 IndyCar Series here in California. And now it is time for the most famous words in all of racing, and for that we send it down to the man, Tony Hawk on four wheels.
And now, race fans, would you please welcome skateboarding legend Tony Hawk as he delivers those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Tony Hawk gives it a little of his own Southern California flair. That was kind of nice, seeing that as the grid is full. You see the hands up, the engines have fired, and there you see the Toyota starting grid going across. It's Franchitti and Scheckter 1 and 2, Hornish and Patrick 3 and 4, and Rice on row number 3 with Elio Castroneves. There's Dan Weldon. He will be starting 7th next to his teammate Brian Hurta. Scott Sharp's got a win on the air, as does Tony Kanaan. Keep your eye on him at the start, Scott. That is when he seems to excel, and I mean that literally.
Completely different conditions right now, Todd, than what we had these past couple of days. In the low 90s when drivers first went on the track this morning, 62 as we're taking to the track right now. Completely different conditions, as I mentioned, for all these engineers to compute what they need for the car. The wind has changed directions. Many things we're going to watch today. A little bit of unknown because the rain came and washed all the rubber off the track. So all these drivers are going to have to get used to a completely different racing surface here in the opening laps.
As we go on board with Dan Weldon, we'll give you the rest of the onboards as they come down, but we quickly have a moment to go back down to pit row for a man, the only man I know that has better hair than Scott Goodyear. Jamie Little?
Hey, he does have pretty good hair. They're saying you have good hair. Patrick Dempsey, of course, we're in Los Angeles, so the stars are coming out to watch the drivers, but he is a true race car fan. It's great to see you out here, Patrick. Who are you rooting for today?
I'm rooting for everybody. I hope it's a safe race. I hope it's a good race. You know, we'll see. I think it's going to be competitive. Everything's been settled, so it'd be nice to see Dario up front there. Get it? You know, we'll see.
So you get to watch
nice as well. I'd like to see her finally win this year.
And now you get to watch the racing today, but tonight Grey's Anatomy is on. Great show.
Yeah, 10 o'clock, ABC after Desperate Housewives. Really good show tonight. It's very funny. It's poignant in places. It's great. It's a great show. I'm really happy to be on it.
Are we going to see you in a car next year? I'm hearing rumors.
Well, I sort of made an announcement with Hypersport. I'll be doing some Grand Am racing next year. I mean, I'll be doing a lot of the IRL events. I really love this race, you know, and the people around this series are just phenomenal. And it's a real honor to walk up and meet all the racers. They're really great people. And racing in general and the sport is I just love it. I'm so passionate about it. I'm lucky the show's successful that I can get to do these things, you know, so it's all really nice. And I love the American Le Mans Series and working on a movie based in that world. So I'll be trying to hit as many races as possible and some other announcements later on in the year.
Awesome. Patrick Dempsey checking out the race. Now let's go to Dr. Punch.
And just a reminder that our newly crowned IndyCar champion, Dan Wheldon, had dodged a bullet this morning in the final practice session. They broke what they thought might have been an engine, but it wasn't. It was an intermediate shaft in the gearbox that controls the 2 drop gears. They had to rush the car back, change the gearbox out of the backup car, and that car has not been back on the racetrack until now. So still some unanswered questions there on Dan Wheldon's ride. Now, let's check in up pit road with Vince Welch.
Well, Doc, the only driver in the field today who has actually won a race here at California Speedway is Sam Hornish Jr. He won in 2002 and 2003 as a driver for Panther Racing. Today, of course, he drives for Roger Penske and Penske Racing. Hornish currently 3rd in points. He's 26 behind Tony Kanaan and 34 ahead of Dario Franchitti. He wants to make sure there's not a 1-2-3 Andretti green sweep today. Hornish says he believes he can still get 2nd in points. Todd?
All right, thank you, Vince. As we take a look at Sam Hornish Jr., he is just behind the yellow car, and that is of Thomas Scheckter, the Chevrolet. This is their last race, and now it's time for Scott's keys to the race, the keys to winning, Scott.
Well, wind plays a huge part at this racetrack. 2 miles in length, and the wind changes whatsoever. It changes the handling of the car. It changes the need for different gear ratios. We'll have to watch for that. The patience, have to have a lot of patience here, not only in traffic, but also with the car's handling. Because of changing conditions today, you'll probably have a car that wants to change throughout the race. Communicate with the pit lane, make some changes during your pit stops, and have the opportunity to make the car ready for what I say is number 3, which is the last 50 laps of the race. That's what this is going to come down to. Get the car ready to go for those last 50, because that's when the racing really gets interesting.
And those last 50 laps may be coming from 5,100. If rain comes, we need to get 100 laps in to make this complete. We want to remind you on ESPN 360, they are going on board with Danica throughout the entire race. You will not want to miss that. And remember, the man waving the green flag, I know he's got a cannon of an arm. We'll see how he can do with a flag. That is NFL Hall of Famer John Elway. Huge to get him here. You'll normally be watching an NFL football game. But folks, we are doing it Southern California style. Grab yourself a fish taco and settle in, because the surf is flat and the IndyCar Series has invaded SoCal. It's go time for the Toyota Indy 400. Franchitti brings him to the line. 1 lap complete, and the best racing on track, Scott Goodyear, may be the battle for second, with Thomas Scheckter on the inside, Sam Hornish Jr. right next to him, and there's his teammate, the 2 red and white cars. Hornish first, Castro Neves right behind him.
These guys are wasting no time, guys and one girl. A lot of speed the first time around. 205, 206 miles an hour, already 3 wide.
And Miss Patrick says, excuse me, I'm coming on through. I've got a race to win. And if she can hang on to the coattails of Tony Kanaan, she is going to have a great day. Tony Kanaan, no surprise there. He has moved up. Kanaan already up to 5th place.
Listen to the gear ratios change right there. Aboard the Jim Beam car, you can hear him go up and down the gearbox. Oh, so close, so early.
Dan Wheldon, we saw him earlier in the show having that one-on-one conversation with Danica. It looked like right there he was trying to get another question, and he was that close. There is your leader on the left-hand side, the blue and red ARCA X car, the pole sitter, Dario Franchitti, and Thomas Scheckter is bringing the Chevy on through.
Very fast when they unloaded off the trailer the other day, and I asked Thomas, I said, you think it's good? He said, we've had some niggling little problems coming onto the car, but I think we have something that's going to be so fast on race day. I'm so excited. I wish we could race this afternoon.
It's like there's one blue light special plate left, and they're all racing for it. It's Thomas Scheckter, your leader now. Scheckter comes around as they come out of turn 4 at this D-shaped oval in California. Gary Pedigo, the co-owner for Schechter's Panther Racing, also with Thomas Enge, the rookie, on board, and he is going to have his vision busy today.
You know, Todd, a lot has been said about the horsepower race. We qualified with the top 3 manufacturers, all 1, 2, 3. We have that right now as the race is happening. The parity that's in this series right now between the manufacturers is terrific.
There you see the IndyCar Series wins by manufacturer. Honda has already clinched that title with 27, Toyota 17, and Chevy 18, and that is not bad. But remember, as was reported earlier, Chevy will not return in 2006. So as it stands now, it is going to be Honda and Toyota shooting it out in 2006. And Tony Kanaan once again on the move. Schechter, the South African, out in front. He's got a Penske driver right behind him in Sam Hornish Jr., the red and white, and Dario Franchitti, the 27, on the outside. But it's Kanaan going to the low side, sitting in 4th place with his teammate Dan Weldon just to the outside.
Car moved up the racetrack there. You heard him get out of the throttle. Disturbed air coming from the cars in front. A lot of drivers I spoke to have said there's not been a lot of grip on this racetrack this weekend. Maybe cool conditions this morning will actually even make it a little bit better for them. Sometimes that cool air gives you a little bit more downforce.
You are looking at Tony Kanaan just a moment there at 215 miles an hour. Look at the cool demeanor. Stays focused. The head barely moves, Scott, and he is traveling quickly with his teammate just to the side of him. And you can see his head bouncing there. There are bumps on this track, which is hard to imagine doing at 215 plus.
Drivers know they're there, Todd, but down the backstretch, we'll show you here in a minute, you don't want to live up and leave that open line on the bottom side. You don't want to move to the right because somebody will come along and fill it. So the drivers say we have to drive over the bumps. Nothing we can do about it. If we open that door, somebody's going to certainly come in there and take their lane.
Dangerous move by Dario Franchitti. Look how high he's going, Scott. You talked about the track, the conditions. We had rain this morning, probably not as grippy as they'd like. And look at the bumps. It is very chilly today, California speaking, 62 degrees, and we've been practicing the last 2 days in temperatures closer to 90. So is Dario taking a chance going that high this early?
He did it in practice, even in the hot conditions, telling me that he's very comfortable with his race car. A lot of grip, very happy that it can actually run up top. The thing that you have to remember is you have to be able to run low and high if you're going to be able to pass people around this racetrack, especially in those last few laps. Again, up on the high side of section, off to the right-hand side. Danny Weldon certainly having problems.
You're clear.
So Danica Patrick gets the pass on Dan Weldon. She will move up, and we check in quickly with Vince Welch.
I spoke with her engineer, Ray Lato, before the race. He said they're starting Danica with a little more downforce than originally planned because of the morning rain. They said they hope they didn't slow her down too much because it's really important to keep her in touch with the lead pack. So far, it looks like it's working out just fine as Dan Weldon starts to make a move on her outside.
Well, Vince, some good information, but when you put more downforce in the car goes around the turn well, a little slower down the straightaway. I think that's why we see everybody catching up to her and maybe getting an opportunity to pass her going along the straightaway. That downforce slows the car down, not as great top speed, Todd.
There you see on the left side of your screen, that is her teammate, number 17, Vitor Mira, getting a look at it. Dan Weldon getting a huge draft behind her, and he just blows past her. Plus her teammate, Buddy Rice, who started 5th, he has dropped to 10th on the first lap. Well, there's your leader, Thomas Schechter, Sam Hornish Jr., Dario Franchitti. What a trio here in Southern California. We'll come back. You go side by side. Welcome back to Fontana. Reminder, Sunday night, Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselback, and the Seahawks look to remain undefeated as home as they welcome David Carr, Dominic Davis, Andre Johnson, the Houston Texans to Quest Field in Seattle. Texans versus Seahawks is also available in high definition on ESPN HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. Coverage begins with NFL Primetime presented by Miller Lite Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. Back to racing here. It's the Toyota Indy 400, the finale for the IndyCar Series in 2005, and you are riding on board with Danica Patrick. That is her teammate, Vitor Mira. Coming up behind her, we have 16 laps down, and look at this. We are going 3 wide with another rookie on the outside, Tomasz Enge in the Rockstar car.
Another one of those Chevrolet-powered cars trying to work his way forward. A very busy driver, goes off and does a lot of endurance racing. It was just at the Petit Le Mans the other weekend for Austin Martin. A guy with so much experience, not a whole lot of oval experience, has really done a great job this year, Todd. I've been very impressed with the way that he's approached this. I'll make the car right.
Dan Weldon on the other end of that, he has slid back to 12th place right now, dropping out the pace, Scott, by 2 miles an hour. So Weldon finds himself not really in a desperate situation because we've seen this from him before. But why has he dropped off so much? For more on that, let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, you just saw a moment ago when he took his right hand off the steering wheel that he's making adjustments in the cockpit on the car. Remember, he had an abbreviated practice session this morning because of the broken intermediate shaft, so he didn't get the dial of the car in. Now watch him go way up across the racetrack, way up there across the track there as Vitor Miro slides by. He was making a cockpit adjustment. Now watch his right hand. He goes up, he's trying to hang on. The car goes up across the racetrack at 215 miles an hour. He's making adjustments inside the car on the chassis. The car's got a serious push, and obviously he's got his hands full right now as he is dropping back outside the top 10.
Exactly right, Doc. Great call on that understeer, because if you do watch his right hand, what will end up happening is you'll see that hand himself should actually just be in the angle that it's at right now all the way through the turn. If it gets anywhere close up to that 12 o'clock area, which is doing more so in turns 1 and 2, his car is pushing. Now the wind is also making that handle differently for him in 1 and 2, but you'll hear him get off the gas and not carry the speed through the turn. That's why he's 2 or 3 miles an hour slower. In cockpit adjustments that Doc talked about, Todd, change the weight jack or change the roll center or change the roll bar rather, and this helps the car handle a little bit differently. He's hoping for a yellow right now.
Look at the throttle there as we take a look at Firestone telemetry. He's still at 214 miles an hour, but you said it, the throttle backed all the way down to the 40%, and for Dan Weldon, that is somewhere he rarely goes, except possibly on pit entrance when you have to get down to 60 miles an hour. Still at 99%, 98 now. This is a problem, Scotty, do you think is linked to what happened to him earlier this morning when he was out practicing?
You should be able to run 100% throttle around here. He starts to ease off of it. You can certainly see what's going on. And for him, when anytime he gets off the throttle as he's right now, from those cars in front, he's getting that disturbed air. The car's got that push. The front doesn't want to turn when he turns the steering wheel. If you think about driving on ice and the front wants to go up towards the wall, that's exactly what he's experiencing. Real light in the steering wheel, and he's just saying, I need a yellow, guys. Help me fix the car. Some changes possibly on the car, or they just made it a completely different change for the weather.
From Dan Weldon to our leaders right now, there you see Thomas Scheckter in the yellow Panther Pennzoil car. He is being followed closely, and I mean closely, at 215 miles an hour by Sam Hornish Jr., number 6, driving for Roger Penske. And how ironic is this that Sam Hornish Jr., a former Panther driver, I'm working with a former Panther driver. That's quite a fraternity you guys have going.
You know, Sam had won here twice, the first 2 races. Very strong driver on these fast tracks, loves the speed, very cagey. He's probably sitting back there right now reading what's going on with Thomas Schecter's car, so he knows in the future how he might be able to get around him.
So many drivers have told me down in the paddock area that Sam Hornish Jr. is one of those drivers, he's not dirty, but he gives you enough to keep it clean, but not enough to let you make the pass.
Everybody says it exactly. Just enough to make you get through, nothing more. If you want to chance it and take it, then go ahead. Probably another smart move he's doing right now, saving a little bit of fuel possibly, because under green, as we're doing right now, he certainly has to maybe throttle back, save a little fuel, maybe get another lap or 2 out of this tank full.
And there's his teammate, number 2 in the Rockstar car, the other Chevrolet. That is Tomas Enge from the Czech Republic. Started 11th up to 5th place. So would this be the beautiful swan song for Chevrolet or what? Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, that's it. Chevrolet has 3 choices, 3 drivers out here today to take home the win and go out with a bang. Yesterday, Tomas Enge and Thomas Scheckter both said they're saddened to know this is their final race, but they couldn't think of a better way to repay Chevy than to go out with a win today. Right now, rookie Thomas Enge is running 5th.
And the other Chevrolet that Jamie was alluding to is that of A.J. Foyt IV, who made the change in mid-season. Now, the driver, Scott, should be coming back. Chevrolet is not coming back.
I just heard in the paddock in his last day, this is not confirmed, but have heard that the Panther team have been offered Honda engines for next year. As you know, there'll be Honda and Toyota. They'll have to make some form of a decision. It'll be interesting to see which one they choose, but they have a lot of experience, most race wins in this series. A talented team, talented engineers, great drivers, will be a threat no matter what power plant they have.
Well, the second car in your frame just brushed the wall, and that is of A.J. Foyt IV. He is still going, Scott, but the power has dropped off. There it is. Watch on the side.
Actually going around the top side of Danny Weldon right there. Got a little bit of that dirty air off of Danny's car. Shoved the car up towards the wall, and that's what we call a pancake, Todd. Not any damage. Here we go. Watch this. I'll tell you, 215 miles an hour, your heart goes up in your throat.
We will find out if that damage is something that will keep him from continuing on, or will A.J. Foyt's last race in the IndyCar Series be a memorable one. Stick around and find out. Can the South African hold off and get the victory, or will Hornish overtake him? We're in Fontana. Stay with us. And we welcome you back to ESPN's coverage of the Toyota Indy 400 from California Speedway in Fontana. The man who got this thing all going was Hall of Fame 2004 class member, that of course of Mr. John Elway. Now we knew you had the arm for a football, but the flag, that was impressive. How was it?
You know, it was fun. I'd never done that before, so it was fun. The one thing you told me is make sure I don't drop the flag, so I had a good grip on that thing.
Quite a rush of air when those guys go underneath you.
Unbelievable. I tell you what, power and speed and the noise was unbelievable.
Now, your experience with cars is selling cars in the Denver area with the John Elway dealerships, but auto racing, is that something you've come to love or something you could be getting into?
Well, no, I'm not planning on getting into it, but I do enjoy watching it. It's something that I don't know a whole lot about, so it really intrigues me. All the different little intricacies that go along with this sport are amazing, and so just to kind of be around, it's fun.
We
to
got
watch.
a big crash here. It looks like in turn number 2 as it comes around, and I believe that is A.J. Foyt the fourth, something we don't want to see. And we just had a report earlier that A.J. was having some problems, Scott. Did you speculate on what
Todd,
this could be?
He came in during our break. He came in, obviously made a change, so he's now gone out. But, you know, we were just talking about retirement just a moment ago, John, and this is one of the reasons that I retired, because you get sick of hitting the wall, just like you said you got sick of being bruised on Monday morning. Now, he's obviously all right. He's moving inside the cockpit, but let's not forget, Todd, this is his last race that he is in the Indy Racing League, because he's moving over to the Busch Series next year, so not a high note to leave the season.
Well, as John Elway knows, this is not the way you want to go out. You want to go out scoring the winning touchdown at the Super Bowl. But for A.J. Foyt, he is moving on to NASCAR, and there is the man, A.J. Foyt. And I can only imagine what he's saying right now. You probably had some coaches like that.
Yeah, I did. I tell you what, AJ's obviously a legend in this sport, but obviously I'm sure he's disappointed with this.
What brought you to California? I mean, we're honored to have you here. And you got to wave the flag. That's something you got to put on the resume. But are you in this area? I mean, it's Sunday. I would expect you to be home and doing some quarterbacking from the couch.
Well, actually, I'm from Southern California.
Right.
I went to high school at Granada Hills High School.
Played at Stanford.
And played at Stanford. But it's always nice to come home. And plus, I've got a Toyota store, Crown Toyota, which is right next door in Ontario. So it's always nice to be able to come back and see everybody there.
Well, here it is, Scott, one more time. This is just the tail of it. Can't really get a good idea of what the problem was. But A.J. making contact once again, Scotty, and we didn't really hear anything on the radio, any reports of what could be going on.
Now, I've been through this situation before. He's not popping out of the race car, guys, so this means that he knows he has some injury, so he's going to wait for the medics to come along with there. There's the backboard. Not a great situation, because he's supposed to start his Busch career just next week at Memphis, driving one of the Busch cars, so this is going to be a big disappointment for him. Even if he gets out of the car and he's walking around by Tuesday, he'll be sore come next weekend.
Teammates who have been injured during the course of the game, and someone like this,
you just hold your breath. I think that's one thing that I have so much respect for these athletes, and the courage that it takes to jump in a car and go 100, 220 miles an hour is unbelievable. And these guys stare at death every time they get in the car, which is, I thought I stared at death when I saw those defensive linemen coming at me, but this is really what it's all about.
The Mile High City's finest are probably not listening, so can you tell us how fast have you driven before? I mean, just
I think the fastest I've gone, I was actually in the Toyota Long Beach Grand Prix. They had a celebrity race there, so I think we raced in Celicas. I got to go about 110, 115 miles an hour,
wow.
So it wasn't too bad.
Now, I work with Dan Fouts, and he drives his truck pretty fast, but I don't think he's ever gone that fast. As we get a look at A.J. Foyt. Well, John, it was great having you here. We appreciate you taking the time to pop up with us, and please don't be a stranger. We'd like to see maybe next year around May. There's a little race in Indianapolis that you might come see.
Love to, so I appreciate it very much. It's great to be here.
John Elway, folks, 2004 NFL Hall of Fame member, and again, don't be a stranger.
All right, thank you.
That's John Elway joining us up in the booth as we continue to watch A.J. Foyt the fourth as he made contact with the wall out of turn 1 here in Fontana. This is the Toyota Indy 400. We are under yellow, and so far, Scott, has played out somewhat like we thought it would.
It's been fast. We knew the speeds would certainly be up there. We knew that right away at the very beginning. We talked about that. We knew that Chevy had a very fast engine. We knew that Thomas Scheckter certainly wanted to get out and lead because of the last race with the Chevrolet in the Toyota race. Overall, though, a little disappointed when you have a situation like you see right now with A.J. Foyt the fourth, with everything that's going on, the neck brace, the back brace. and he's now being carried out of the car. Obviously, he's awake and he's alert, but he might have some injury, and very smart of him not to pop out of the car, as I mentioned, to sort of get out of the car and get going.
Well, he had a bit of a grimace on his face, so that was your first telltale sign. You saw him throw some of the safety gear that surrounds him out. But Scott, this is something we don't want to see, and obviously they're going to take every precaution. They're not going to err on any side of just trying to get him off the track and get him out of there quickly. They're going to take their time.
The Delphi safety team, all these guys that you see in the orange suits have been around for years. They've actually helped me get out of the car a few times. You know, it's a comforting fact that when you've actually crashed and you stop, you are only stopped for maybe a second or two, and these guys are on the scene, and you see a familiar face that you know coming to the cockpit, allowing you to feel that comfort that they're going to take the best care of you that they can. And overall, you know that you have an injury. Just take your time. Let the professionals take care of it.
It's 21-year-old A.J. Foyt IV, driving the 14 car out of Hockley, Texas. This was to be his final race here on the IndyCar Series as he makes the move over to NASCAR, and all we can say is we hope the very best for him. We will find out his condition as soon as we get it and pass it along to you and all of his fans who are down in Texas. And this has been a tough couple of weeks for the Foyt family with the Hurricane Rita coming through. They had to miss Watkins Glen, and I know I join with my colleagues in saying we wish AJ the very, very best as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Todd, you hate to see Anthony Foyt have a problem, but a lot of these drivers here were begging for a yellow flag because their cars are just gone away. Now, this morning we had a bit of a rain shower here. It has since cooled off quite a bit, and the wind has picked up. So many of the drivers, I'm expecting probably all three of the top three drivers, add some front wing. If you turn more front wing in the car, you get more pressure on the front of the car. So when you turn the steering wheel, the front will plant and the car will turn. They have what they call understeer right now, the car moving up across the racetrack. It won't turn in the corner. You saw it a moment ago early in the race with Dan Weldon. A lot of these guys will make changes when they pit here momentarily, primarily by adding front wing. Guys?
We are looking at Sam Hornish Jr. right now, who is currently in second place. And we are hoping that they are not going to pit just now as they come around. They've got some debris to clear, and we will find out how this all shakes down with the pit stops coming up when we return to Fontana. Under yellow at Fontana, reminder, next weekend the NHRA Powerade Series moves on to Nevada for the AC Delco Las Vegas Nationals. Saturday, catch the Budweiser Shootout at 10 Eastern, followed by qualifying at 10:30. And final eliminations, folks, Sunday at 8 Eastern at ESPN2. That's the AC Delco Las Vegas Nationals. They're also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today, and you can always log on to ESPN.com for more information. A lot of great racing in this part of the country as we watch the drivers continue to go around the track. And the big problem, Scott, is pit out. They've got a lot of debris and things they need to clean up out there, so I obviously don't want to bring them in if they're going to have issues down there.
All the parts coming off the car, all the metal objects and the carbon fiber from the car itself are actually on the pit exit lane, Todd. You're exactly right. So Brian Barnhart and the people here from the IRL that are in charge will certainly allow cars to actually drive over that if it's still there.
The pits are open and Thomas Schechter leads them down there. Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And we'll show you all three. Top of your screen, the Pennzoil Chevy of Schechter. Middle of your screen, the Toyota for Sam Hornish. And the bottom is the Honda for Tony Kanaan, who'll be pitting right in front of his teammate, Dario Franchitti. At the right, watch the pit clocks already underway for Schechter pitting farther up pit road. Now they'll take a turn of wing out for Sam Hornish, and they'll put a turn of front wing in for Tony Kanaan. Schechter is already out 9.2 seconds. Great stop for the Pennzoil guy. Here's Hornish, 9 seconds flat. The top of the board of Kanaan, and 8.6. Tony Kanaan on his way, and Kanaan will be the first to exit pit road. What a great pit stop. Great stop for Tony Kanaan as they are high-fiving down here. How about that all the way from third to first for Tony Kanaan?
Well, they talk about real estate in Southern California being expensive, and right now Tony Kanaan had the best spot out in front. He moves to the lead, followed by Hornish and Schechter. And Schechter with a 9.2, Scott. I thought he had it done. And then Hornish uncorks a 9.0, but the positioning of the pits for Tony Kanaan was key.
Absolutely. The thing that happens here is that the teams are watching the other cars coming down from the far end. They will pull out the fuel nozzle early to let their car get out on the track early, which is exactly what the Andretti Green team did for Tony Kanaan.
So could Tony Kanaan have short fuel? That is a question we will have to keep our eye on and see how it plays out. But for now, the Brazilian is in the lead in Fontana. Back with more after this. Welcome back to Fontana. It's the Toyota Indy 400, the final race of the IndyCar Series for 2005. Your leaders, Tony Kanaan, Sam Hornish Jr., and Thomas Scheckter. Dario Franchitti, the man who had the pole, currently sits in 4th place, but a lot of racing still to go. Let's check in quickly with Jamie Little for a report on A.J. Foyt, the 4th.
That's right, Todd. I was just told A.J. Foyt the 4th is awake and alert. Now they're going to transport him via ambulance immediately to Loma Linda Hospital. He's complaining of some knee issues. He said they're very sore. They said he was a little bit groggy, so they're concerned they're going to send him there for further evaluations and a CAT scan. As soon as we get another update, we'll get it back to you. Dr. Punch?
Thank you, Jamie. That's good news. Hopefully we'll get a good update on Anthony Foyt. Now, let me show you, we talked about a moment ago in pit stops about what happens when you change the wing angle in the front of a car. Take a look at our target cutaway car here, and you saw Sam Hornish, he took wing out, whereas Tony Kanaan put wing in. They come to the front of the nose of the car, and they'll make a turn here, which will adjust the attack angle of this front wing. If you add more wing, it catches more air going into the corner, plants the nose, and when you turn the wheel, the car will turn. You don't have understeer. Now, if you have too much understeer, then you take some wing out like Sam Hornish did. You take the angle back, which puts less pressure on the front of the car, more on the back, so the car is nice and tight going in. 2 different adjustments all made by turning one device here in the front of the front wing of the car. Guys?
All right, thank you, Doc. Great information. Scott, I'm a little bit dim. Most of my family member knows that, but I think one of the best demonstrations I've ever heard or been explained to about that is putting your hand out the window and when you're in a car and angling it down or angling it up.
Absolutely. If you go along, say at 60 miles an hour, and make a little angle with the back of your hand and tilt it up, it obviously puts your hand down towards the ground. And if you lift your fingers up, it actually takes your hand and wants to whip it up into the air, and that's basically a very rudimentary way of actually talking about what they're doing here. Think about the wing on an airplane, it's the same sort of thing. And actually what I tell people all the time is that the under tray of these cars, the parts that underneath, the under tray itself was built like an inverted wing. The faster you go, the more ground force it actually hacks down towards the ground, helping the cars go around the turn.
While we're in side-by-side, an incident taking place in Roger Yasukawa's pits. One of his crew member knocked down, and we check in for more on that with Vince Welch.
I'm with team owner Dennis Reinbold, Ryan Reinbold Racing. The left rear tire changer, Cody Selman. There you see him being removed, is wearing a neck brace. And Dennis, did he also suffer a leg injury, or what can you tell us about his injuries in this situation?
We're not sure. He was complaining about his right leg. I think it was his right, maybe left. But the car came out and ran over him. We were trying to get the engine cover back on, and we were in a hurry to get back out, and it didn't happen because he got run over. So hopefully he's going to be okay. He's alert and is talking, so it looks promising, at least that way. They're doing precautionary things with him now as well.
Do you know who you'll put into that spot? Obviously the left rear tire changer, an important part of the crew.
Yeah, we have plenty of guys that can go in and take his place, so that's not the issue. I mean, we're not worried about that at all. Right now we just are hopeful that Cody gets better soon.
Thank you, Dennis. Todd?
Folks here are getting a workout as we are 40 laps complete in Fontana. We will bring you up to speed and hopefully have a green flag when we return. And this is why we are under yellow here at Fontana's California Speedway. A.J. Foyt the 4th in his final IndyCar race before he moves over to NASCAR, making contact with the wall, Scott.
A very hard hit. We saw him get out of the car, actually with the assistance of the Delphi.
And this is remembering the career of A.J. Foyt the 4th. It's been short, but it's been a good one. He has had all kinds of experience, of course, with his grandfather leading the way. And this young man, despite being as young as he is, Scott, 21 years of age, he is the youngest man to ever compete as a driver at the Indianapolis 500. He's had a great career, but he's decided to move on. And you know what? You can't blame him. Grandfather's been there the whole way with him, but Grandpa's driven a lot of other cars too.
Has driven many cars. He's won at Le Mans. He's won at Daytona. You think of the pressure that A.J. the 4th has actually been under ever since he arrived in this world. Just being the Foyt name, you talk about Michael Andretti going underneath Mario, and what Marco's going to have now, obviously, with both Michael as a father and Mario as a grandfather. I spoke to Marco this morning, and he was actually down running at Laguna Seca, and he said, you know, I'm going to try and test an IndyCar as much as I can this winter. I want to drive for my dad's team.
Well, as Jamie Little reported, A.J. Foyt the 4th initially reporting being groggy and injuries possibly to his knees. For more on that, let's check in with Jamie, and she can talk to Grandpa.
That's right. It's his grandfather and car owner. What hit We're getting cuts here. I hear us going in and out. What did he say on the radio?
Well, actually, he got moved back about 4 spots. He said, what's the name was blocking him. The 26 car is what got him in trouble, and then it's taking the air off, and he tried on the outside, and it just jumped loose on him, and that's what happened. And he just got caught. That's what him all the way in the back, you know. And we called up and said, what's going on? And they said they weren't paying no attention, so things like this happen.
We saw him brush the wall earlier in the race. Do you think that had anything to do with essentially?
No, because he is on the outside. Vince, he said everything's fine. I said, you sure? He said, yeah. And he said all it did was just jump out from under him.
Grandpa said he's long-legged. That's why he's complaining about knee problems, but hopefully everything's fine and we will get an update. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jamie, and thank you, AJ. And look at this, Scott. That looks like a little bit of white smoke coming out of the back of the 27 car, and even more now. And that we're
saving
yellow.
Fuel. That's what we're doing right now. Honda has a system, from what I understand. You'll never get the information directly from Honda of a way of actually turning off some cylinders to save fuel underneath yellow. So I suspect.
This is California, though. They're pretty tight on emissions. They might be out here cracking down on these guys and Dario Franchitti. So that is the conspiracy theories. We take a look at our Toyota lap leaders. It is Thomas Scheckter with 32. Tony Kanaan's been up front for 6. And our pole sitter Dario Franchitti has 3. Sam Hornish Jr. made a brief appearance up front with 1. And they are now starting to bunch them up, which means we are getting closer to going green. Remember, folks, if you want to get all Danica 24/7, check out ESPN 360. They are riding on board with Miss Patrick for the entire race live now on ESPN 360. And that is one amazing thing. If you've never checked that out, go check out ESPN 360. A lot of fun there. Danica Patrick, in-car camera. Danica 24/7. That's amazing.
A young lady that's going to get married in about a month from now in Phoenix, Arizona. A lot of that happening. Buddy Rice getting married here in a couple of weeks in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona also. So even though the racing season's over, a few drivers are still going to be very busy.
So it's Tony Kanaan, your leader, followed by Sam Hornish Jr. and Thomas Scheckter, the top 3. There is Danica Patrick. Danica currently running in 12th, and the green flag is out as they make their way out of turn number 4. We are back up to speed in Fontana.
Boy, Dario Franchitti having a quick go-around of Thomas Scheckter on the restart. Some great timing by getting to the line quickly with the green flag dropping, and he takes advantage of gaining a spot.
And that is just the debris they threw out on the track to absorb the oil from the A.J. Foyt, the 4th incident. It looks like it was more than that, but that will quickly dissipate, and we've got some great side-by-side racing as the field has bunched up. We are now down to 20 cars with the departure of A.J. Foyt, the 4th, and Thiago Medeiros, who crashed during qualifying. As they come to the line one more time, it's the Brazilian, the 11, Tony Kanaan in front, followed by Sam Hornish Jr.
Tony Kanaan, a guy that got his childhood dream just about a week and a half ago, testing a Formula 1 car, a bar Formula 1 car. Bit of a recipient of winning the championship now as we see Franchitti starting to have a look to go around Sam Hornish Jr. I asked Tony about the experience. He says, amazing brakes in the car, amazing power. I really enjoyed it.
Scott, they came into pit a few laps ago on lap number 40, I believe. Are the tires warm enough now for them to do this kind of side-by-side racing, or would you recommend maybe want to hold off for this kind of stuff for a while?
Well, they're race drivers. Or pressure, but it doesn't stop a race driver from putting his foot on the gas. That's what you get paid to do, and you don't want to see a car in front of you at all. So these guys are hard on it. And right now, look at Scott Sharp. That's as racy as he's been all weekend. He's been up around the top 5 or 8, but now
Sharp going faster, or do you think Thomas Scheckter having problems?
Well, top speed right now, Kanaan that last time by 216 miles an hour. Scheckter down to 213, so maybe some changes on his car are not exactly what he needs.
They are full of fuel. There you see the sparks coming off the titanium skid plates as they pitted on lap number 36, and we check in with Vince Wells.
moved up to the number 4 spot. And remember, this is the team that won this race a year ago with Adrian Fernandez, who now is solely in the car owner role. There's a good look at Sharp. He won earlier this season at Kentucky Speedway, and even though he had a little bit of a handling problem earlier in the race, the car obviously working much better now. He's moving toward the front.
Thank you, Vince. Another man who's on the move, and that is Dario Franchitti. He has seemed to have found some power as he moves past Sam Hornish Jr. and tucks behind his teammate, Tony Kanaan. And for the rest of the field, Scott, does this spell doom? The way they've been driving, the way they qualified, if they work together, can they check out?
They certainly can, and if they're going to work together, just going to tuck in behind each other, not try and pass, because obviously when you do that, you're actually killing yourself in the slipstream. So let's see if the 27, Dario Franchitti, is going to move right behind the 11 of Tony Kanaan. Oh, there we go. Number 7.
Drop low. One more. Okay, drop low.
That's number 7. That's Brian Herta having some problems.
Up to pressure, a little bit of debris maybe wrapped around his helmet. Maybe it looks like some tape, but probably tear off. And you know, look at the bumps on the racetrack. Herta's right in front going.
Weldon goes low.
Oh, man,
and Castro Neves goes
so high.
Wow. Scotty, that's at 212 miles an hour.
Watch this. Car directly in front right now. On your right is the 7. Right around, you know, and that is not something that you think about, Todd. This is something that just happens by reactions for these drivers.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch as the yellow flag comes out.
Look at the cockpit here as he comes down pit road. His visor blew off. The visor blew up on his helmet and blew off, and he couldn't get it to stay down, so he had wind in his eyes at 210 miles an hour, and he was temporarily blinded. And now they have told him to go ahead and pits now. He'll be penalized if he stops. They're going to go back out, come around behind the pack as the pits will open up momentarily. But Scott Goodyear, he was just absolutely almost in a panic on the radio when that visor blew up. And the wind in his eyes, he could not see a thing. And so everyone behind him had to dodge him because he was totally blind on the racetrack.
Now, Doc, you know, you may see your pet hanging its head out of the window at 60 miles an hour and liking it, but I'll tell you what, 215 miles an hour going along here and your visor comes up, absolutely not what you want to see. You mean, you know, how can you even know what's going on there? You can't see what's going to go on. A great bit of driving by him, and he'll give me some Visine.
I'll tell you what, it's one thing to make a phone call at 65 miles an hour while you're driving or take a swig of some vitamin water, but it's another thing when your visor pops up at 215.
Well, it just tells you how much wind is inside the cockpit for these drivers. You think about, one of the things that you think about is you talk about a NASCAR, a stock car, something like that. You got that windshield in front of you. That amount of air is always coming down to the cockpit. As a driver, we always felt it. Now, on there, he's going to have that fixed, obviously.
Hey, Scott. But the wind wouldn't allow him to pull that visor back down. That's why he couldn't close it up, and he thought it was completely gone.
Well, Doc, a gaggle of drivers are coming your way. Let's first check in with Vince Welch.
This is going to be a very quick stop, just fuel only for Sam Hornish Jr. His teammate Helio Castroneves is taking fuel as well, and there they go, both of them away cleanly. Look at Hornish trying to make his way. Doc?
And as you watch Hornish and company exit, we mentioned that neither Dario Franchitti nor Tony Kanaan pitted, but the reason for this yellow flag, Brian Herta is still sitting on pit road. They have pulled the visor back down, they have cleaned it off, reattached the buckle on the bottom of the visor, and now he is away.
Now, one of the things that he's going to end up missing here is that usually you have a visor strip that you talked about, Todd, and the visor strips, 3 or 4 of them on there, debris comes on your visor, you pull the visor strip off, he will not have any of those anymore. He's going to have to just run with the visor, and it will get dirty here very quickly.
There you see the 2 cars of Team Penske. Number 6 is Sam Hornish Jr. Behind him is number 3, Helio Castroneves. So Sam Hornish Jr. comes out roughly in 9th place with a full load of fuel. Interesting to see how that plays out. Now, pitting out of sequence, not everyone pitted on this go-around. Do you think that was intentional, and was it a wise move?
Well, everybody pitted back on lap 44. Now you've got an extra 10 laps, and some more laps you're going to gain here underneath yellow, so certainly won't be able to go another 35, 37.
Problem in the pits for our last winner. This is on board with Scott Dixon. He won 3 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, and look at this. Oh, another crew member goes down, and that was the fuel man. And a great job by the folks in tape and our camera crews picking that up, Scotty. That's just miscommunication, and there shouldn't be that happening on the 17th race of the season, should there?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what happens. As soon as the fuel man pulls the nozzle out, then the crew members tell him to go. So he actually followed instructions. Evidently, maybe the fuel man thought that there wasn't enough fuel in there, or the fuel nozzle didn't plug in all the way, and maybe he knew the fuel did not get in the tank, and he was actually going to go back and replug. It is communication, Todd. You're absolutely right.
Well, the top 5 guys have not pitted. So there you see Kanaan, Franchitti, Scheckter, Sharp, and Mira. They decided to stay out. The pits are still open. And a lot of people now, Scott, making some chess moves, deciding that maybe out of sequence is the way to do it. As the green flag emerges one more time from its brief hibernation, we are up to speed one more time at the Toyota Indy 400.
Franchitti making it look a little bit easy, going around the high side, and just behind him, Sharp is doing the same thing, Todd. Boys, his car gotten strong. 2 of the best restarters in the business, Tony Kanaan, Dario Franchitti. They are teammates, Scott. Will they be teammates next year? Will the four-headed monster of Andretti Green stay intact? What are you hearing? We're hearing that all 4 will be back, the same as they have it this year. Probably not what everybody else in the pit lane wants to hear, Todd, because they have been so strong all season long. A great race team, a lot of consistency. How long can you be lucky, though?
There you see Andretti Green right now running 1st, 2nd, 12th, and 19th. Brian Herta by virtue of that bad visor. We're going to step aside, pay a few bills. You miss nothing because we go side by side. As they come down the front straightaway, the green flag is out and we are off and racing. St. Pete's finest have put away the tickets. Street racing is legal. Ryan Briscoe, number 33, your leader. How long can he hold on? Tony Kanaan, they come together. Your winner at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Dan Weldon, picks up the victory, followed closely by his teammate, Tony Kanaan. And that was a first for us at the IndyCar Series, making our first right-hand turns at St. Pete, as this is the finale of the circuit in 2005. We look back and remember, and that was, Scotty, one of the great races with Andretti Green sweeping the podium +1. They claimed the top 4 positions, and right now it's looking a lot like that as well, as Tony Kanaan, Andretti Green team member, is your leader, followed by Dario Franchitti. This is the kind of racing we like to see, open wheel racing at 215 miles an hour. IndyCar officials not so happy with this because it gets them to nervous time, Scotty, but this is why they're the best drivers in the world.
To be able to drive at this speed and be able to negotiate your car that close to the other car and just have it happen like you're sitting on your couch at home. I explain that to people all the time. Your heart rate is actually going very quickly, but you're very calm when you're sitting inside the seat when this all goes around.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, many of you may wonder, some people may wonder why Tony Kanaan and Franchitti and company did not pit in that last yellow. And the reason being is they didn't think they would gain much in terms of fuel mileage. They would still need one more stop to be able to get to the halfway point, lap 100, because range is supposedly going to move in just past the halfway. We're already feeling the sprinkles. These guys are really getting racy on the track right now, guys.
Three-way battle for first place. Not bad on a Sunday afternoon. It's Kanaan to the low side, and he's pushes Dario Franchitti into third. Kanaan going mano-a-mano. Look at this, it's 6 inches apart.
Everybody in the garage area the last couple of days have been worried about that yellow Pennzoil car with a Chevrolet. Thomas Scheckter behind the wheel. Now Kanaan's going to try and move him up the racetrack. Scheckter wants to get down to the low side.
And that is a car that my colleague Scott Goodyear knows oh so well. This is the anniversary of his last win back in 2000, picking up the victory in Texas. And Scotty, do you miss it?
Not when I'm watching these guys do this, absolutely not. Now, none of the drivers ever stand up here when you're actually in the cockpit and you're driving these races, but once you come up here and you see what goes on, you think, man, oh man, are these guys crazy?
Certifiable, I think is the word you're looking for, and he has moved to the lead. Thomas Scheckter back in front, but will Kanaan let him stay there for long?
Now, you talk about pride, about winning a race, especially the last race of the season. Tony Kanaan wants to win this race, and everybody else in this race today, wants to be the winner, but no so more. And I would think Thomas Scheckter, who's actually pulling out without a problem. Here comes the Penske cars.
And it looks like Elio Castroneves and Sam Hornish Jr. are working together. And the last time we saw them running this together was in Milwaukee, and it didn't have the effect that Roger was looking for with Sam Hornish. Go on, Sam Hornish. Second.
To the fact that the co-owner for that Pennzoil Indianapolis on Thursday, 5.5 hours in the operating room, spent 2 days in intensive care, and I was told a little bit ago he is in his hospital room right now watching on ESPN, has the laptop computer there watching timing and scoring, and I gotta believe he is going to be just absolutely get up for what's happening right now with his car on the racetrack.
Well, Doc, as a physician, would you recommend that?
Well, as you take a look at Gary Pettigrew, no, I would not. But you know what? John Barnes is a guy that's all about emotion. He loves the sport of open wheel racing. He knew he had to have this surgery, and this whole team has dedicated this performance today to him getting well in a hurry. And what an incredible job they have done here for this Pennzoil Panther team here for John Barnes and Doug Bowles and company.
And we ride the team as well, sending our very best to John Barnes. Get better, JB. We hope to see you soon. Also, Al Unser Sr. having some health issues right now, Scott, and we certainly don't want to lose either one of those gentlemen. We hope to have them around for another 50 or so. What do you think?
Al Unser not feeling well on his drive here from Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's actually in a hospital room in Winslow, Arizona, and we wish him all the best. Certainly a great name in motorsport, the Unser name, and a guy that's actually at the racetrack each weekend as a driver coach and does a lot with everybody in this series.
Well, the field is starting to string out, but they are not checking out, and that is the key. They are keeping everyone within eyesight as they come out of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. It is Thomas Scheckter out in front with Kanaan behind him, and this is oddly reminiscent of that night back in Texas when Scheckter was able to hold off Kanaan and Hornish and pick up the victory.
Pennzoil cars have always been so fast at Texas Motor Speedway. A great evening for Thomas. He said, you know something, I wish we had about 4 of those this year. We certainly could have won a few more.
He was running the platinum paint color there and hanging out with Gene Simmons. That's kind of an odd combination. But it is Scheckter today, and everything seems to be working for him. Scheckter, Kanaan, Franchitti, and Weldon now has moved up to 4th place. How will this thing shake down, and will Mother Nature keep the rain away? We hope so. Stay with us. We're coming back to Fontana after this. Sunday night, it's Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck, and the Seahawks, who look to remain undefeated at home as they welcome David Carr, Dominic Davis, Andre Johnson, and the entire Houston Texans to Quest Field in Seattle. Texans versus Seahawks is also available in high definition on ESPN HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. Coverage begins with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite, Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. Board with Thomas Scheckter, the number 4 Panther Pennzoil ride. He is your leader. He is being followed closely, and I mean closely, by Tony Kanaan, who is not letting him get away. He has led 43 laps, Scheckter has, and how would he like to send Chevrolet out with a bang, picking up a victory in the final race here of the IndyCar Series. On board now with the 2nd place driver, that is Tony Kanaan, TK, the Brazilian. He has been up front for a while, but he is the fastest mover, and Scotty, he is the craftiest of them all.
Knows how to sit back, save his race car for those last 10 laps, that sprint to the finish. I just wonder whether the Honda has enough for the Chevrolet out in front. Dario Franchitti, the pole sitter, very, very strong all weekend long, said that he has something to prove here. Could have won so many more races this season, but just some mechanical woes. Awfully high coming off too there. Wonder what that's all about. And Danny Weldon right there sitting in 4th, little DW as I like to call him. A man that always looks good. Certainly wants to win today, but looks like he's having some car handling issues. And a little wiggle right there as we watched him go through turns 3 and 4. He's going to have to make some more changes on that race car during the next pit stop.
Slight gap to the next one, and we've got a nice battle here. This is the battle for 5th place right now. On the inside, that's number 8, Scott Sharp. now living in Florida, originally from Connecticut. And on the outside, it's the rookie, Tomas Enge, whose week in Watkins Glen came to a brief halt on the last lap when he got together with Elio Castroneves. That was 3 weeks ago. Fortunately, both men were okay, but Sharp, number 8, currently sitting in 5th. There's Enge currently sitting in 6th place, and they've got a nice little battle going here. The Rockstar Chevrolet trying to get past Sharp, and that is a tough task. Dropping back to another position in 7th place, Vitor Mira, the proverbial bridesmaid of the IndyCar Series, a guy that I know my colleague Scott Goodyear has picked on many occasions. He has yet to deliver. Many times has he been second.
You know, second so many times. Second to Indianapolis, a great payday, but you have to win a race if you want to have an opportunity for next year. Spoken to him many times. He says, I don't know what it's going to take. He has to have an opportunity to prove himself. His teammate Buddy Rice, obviously a stellar year last year with winning the Indianapolis 500. Got knocked out of the Indianapolis 500 this year with an injury, a big disappointment to him. He says, I'm just looking for the season to be over and start fresh in 2006.
Elio Castroneves, number 3, is in between them, part of the Penske team. He is in the middle of a RHL Rahal Letterman sandwich because behind Elio Castroneves, who currently sits in 9th, is young Miss Danica Patrick. Danica sitting in 10th place. Now, for a lot of you at home, you may think, oh, Danica's not going to be around at the finish. I might as well click over and watch some big grown men beat up on each other. This is where Danica likes to sit. She'll sit in 10th for 30 or 40 laps, Scott, and then she seems to find something those last 50 laps, and that is one of your keys. Watch the last 50, and that's where I think the Rookie of the Year has really excelled this year.
Look how she's working the steering wheel there. A little bit of dirty air from that car in front, down to 202 miles an hour. Back on the throttle. The G-forces that you see at every end. That tire temp obviously is right there with pressure and temperature. Just sit here, make sure you have an opportunity to fix the car if it's not working for you, as I always mention, and get the car ready for that last 50 laps. That's the most important.
As you look at Firestone telemetry, all I can say is Grand Coulee, damn, is she fast. And it looks like we have got a driver coming in. That's number 17. That is Vitor Mira deciding to roll the dice and take a shot. And he is going to pit out of sequence.
On your mark. Foot on the brake.
4 fresh Firestone tires, 30 gallons of fuel. This might just be the beginning of some pit stops now. Depending on the fuel mileage, he's clear. That's what I love right there. Drop the clutch at 10,300 RPM, 700 horsepower.
And here comes the leader, Thomas Schechter, as we check in with Jamie Little.
Well, the 25-year-old makes his way down pit road. No changes expected. You see him locking him up there. They're expected to get full fuel, 4 fresh Firestone Firehawk tires. Guys, remember, Thomas Schechter's contract is up. He is racing for his job, and you can tell today. And he's up. It's a good stop, 9.2. Vince?
Scott Sharp, fueling and tires. They topped off the fuel. It's been a good run for Sharp so far, and the pit stop was good as well, out easily.
There's Tony Kanaan, number 11, coming in with his teammate, Dario Franchitti, 2 AGRs. Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And remember, Tony Kanaan's crew had a lightning-quick 8.6-second stop early on. Franchitti will take 1 turn of front wing. No changes for Tony Kanaan. They pit nose to tail. Andretti Green teammates. Let's see if Kanaan's crew can beat the 8.6 they had on the very first pit stop. Left side is your box wheel reigning champion, new champion, Dan Weldon. He is the leader right now. And there goes Dario. Oh. Great pit stop for Dario Franchitti. 9.1 seconds. Franchitti's crew beats Kanaan, but Kanaan the first off pit road.
Location, location, location. That extra 10 feet that Dario Franchitti had to make up behind his teammate Tony Kanaan was the difference.
And the wheel gun was actually sitting out in front of Dario Franchitti, and one of the crew members rushed out there to get it. Boy, I'm not sure that I'd be that brave.
So Dan Weldon inherits the lead, and I want to correct myself with Vitor Mira. He pitted on lap 36, so he technically was not pitting out of sequence. He was just the first to come around and cycle through.
Now, these outlaps that we call these drivers, once they get their tires and fuel and they get back on the racetrack, you have to get up to speed so quickly so you don't lose time on your outlap. That's what these guys are doing right now. Now, the wheel gun that we're looking at right now is going to be this wheel gun that you see sitting right there. That should have been pulled in. Now, the crew members see that right away. If Dario Franchitti runs over that wheel gun, that is a stop-and-go penalty, and it's actually within his own team.
All I can say is ole. Look at this. Excuse me. jumps out of the way as Dario Franchitti just drops the hammer. Watch this. Hello. That's the two-step Indy shuffle.
They're going to need a few big gulps after that because they're
On board with Scott Dixon. They are running the pink and white this week, obviously because of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we're doing a great thing on behalf of Target and Team Chip Ganassi. And who says real man can't wear pink?
Actually, I've seen you have a few pink shirts this year.
I no problem with that. And it's all for a good cause. There's Dan Weldon. Now, he has been all over the board, but look at these speeds. 219 miles an hour. He turned on lap number 46. You can see right in that 40s. I mean, why would you want to pit this guy? He pitted on lap number 52, so he is going to be due relatively soon. But for now, Weldon is out front and flying.
I love his style. Probably saved a little bit of fuel, and now he's going to stay out here when everybody else is pitting, run some stellar laps, has the opportunity to pull away from the field and maybe give him an advantage when he comes out of the pit lane next time.
Bad news for the rookie Tomas Enge. We're being told that he will have a drive-through penalty for pit speed violation. That's got to be the hardest thing, other than keeping the car on four wheels, is taking it from 215 down to 60 miles an hour.
And you have to be 60 on the entrance to the exit. Anything over that is a stop and go. It will actually be a disaster underneath this green flag situation.
Dan Weldon has decided that now is the time. He pitted on lap 52. Let's check in with Dr. Punch.
And by leading today, he becomes the all-time leader for Indy racing. The 15 races he has led now here in 2005. Dan Weldon, that makes Danica Patrick the leader here. She will pit momentarily as you watch the newly crowned IndyCar champion Dan Weldon bring the Jim Beam Mac Klein Tools car in the pit road. 4 tires, no changes for Weldon. They have got it dialed in 8.7 seconds. We're expecting Danica Patrick very soon, possibly next time by. Guys?
That could be the fastest of the day, 8.7 seconds. A great job by Dan Weldon's pit crew. Danica Patrick has come in.
Right past the pylon around Rico, who's standing
Vince, what do you got?
Danica Patrick going to get half turn of front
fuel,
lane.
plenty of time here. Right on the mark.
Hits her
Right,
marks
on the brake,
perfectly.
Keep the revs up. Watch edge. Plenty of time here to get that front wing.
Here's the wing adjustment.
Watch edge. Watch edge. Go, 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 go.
I love that go, 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 Scott. They've got the power to go 200, but she can only go 60. So Buddy Rice gets out in front of Danica, and now Danica finds herself in the proverbial Penske sandwich.
Now Jacques Lazier has actually assumed the lead, and he actually lives only 20 miles down the road driving that number 10 Target Chip Ganassi car.
Too quick is the word we are getting from race control. Buddy Rice and Sam Hornish Jr. are getting called back in for a drive-through too fast, and this is what I was looking at just moments ago. Elio Castroneves, yeah.
Oh, there's the white line. That's the beginning of the speed zone right there. Anytime you've actually locked up the wheels, good thing it's actually on the way in. You flat spot those tires, but anything over 60 miles an hour is that stop and go penalty. So Sam Hornish coming in the pit lane right now. And sliding into the pit lane there, 55. Kotsuki Masura, the Penske car with the drive-through. That was a penalty just served. We'll check on this car right now. Lazier, the number 10. And the 55. All we understand serving penalties for going over speed.
Brian Herta has decided to come in as well, the number 7 of the Andretti Green team, our winner at Michigan this year. 8.7, that was unbelievable how fast
now,
they got
you talked
now.
about before, you see Brian Herta using that rag right there. He was actually using that rag because we knocked off those visor strips, which they used to give themselves a clean shield. So every time he comes in, he's going to have to do that.
All the pit business has been taken care of, and when it all shakes down, the South African Thomas Scheckter, number 4, is your leader once again. This puts the fear into the rest of the field. Can the South African hold on and send Chevy off in style? Stick around and find out as you go side by side. ESPN's presentation of the Toyota Indy 400 is brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward. And LA Rush, pimped out, juiced up, flying high, LA Rush. As we take a look at the beautiful Southern California skyline of downtown Los Angeles, and to the north, we're in Fontana. There are your Toyota lap leaders. Thomas Scheckter putting in yeoman's work with 53 laps. Kanaan has 29, then Weldon and Franchitti. Jacques Lazier logged 3 laps out in front. Danica Patrick got one, as did Sam Cornish Jr. As we approach the halfway point, Scott, I ask you to go back to your keys: wind, weather, patience, and last 50 laps. What have you seen and what do you like?
Patience always is one of the big key things. You have to make sure you're staying around to the end. Only a few more pit stops, get the car right.
We talked about this at the top of the show. These are the drivers who have something to prove, and Vitor Meira currently sitting in 5th place with Buddy Rice, his teammate, and Rice has been up and down the board. Right now he finds himself in 15th place. Patrick Carpentier, the Canadian, Alex Barron, Danica Patrick. Can she make a run out of it in Scott's last 50? She currently sits in 7th, and Thomas Enge, maybe one of the most impressive drives today. He is currently in 14th.
So close right there.
Inside.
Thomas Scheckter starting to go around the 15 of Buddy Lazier.
On the corner.
Buddy Rice does not want to go down a lap. He is trying to hold his position as your leader on the right-hand side. That is Thomas Scheckter in the yellow. The number 4 Panther Pennzoil car. And we are halfway complete in Fontana in the Toyota Indy 400. Schechter's your leader, but right now he has his hands full with Buddy Rice.
As a driver, Buddy right now just wants to stay in the low side, trying not to take his foot off the gas, hoping he can stay in front of Thomas Scheckter. And if he can and receive a yellow, that means he goes to the tail end of the lead lap. But once you're down a lap, this is going to be very, very difficult to get back.
The rest of the pack comes through, and they are waving the blue flag with the yellow stripe. That means the leaders are coming through. Let them by. Buddy Rice will hold that low line. He's going to make him work for this one, as Schechter's going to have to find a little more power and go to the outside. But today, Scott, Chevrolet has not been lacking for power.
He's got the power, but the high side's always a long way around. And what this has done is it's allowed Franchitti and Weldon in that group to now get on the tail end of Schechter's car. So this trying to get around Rice has certainly cost him some time. He's now clear in front. Get down to the low side, protect that low line right down to the white line, and hopefully he can now pull away. But certainly these guys are now in touch, now drafting.
For those of you just joining us, you are watching the Toyota Indy 400. Thomas Scheckter is your leader. Dario Franchitti had the pole. We had an incident early in the race. A.J. Foyt IV into the wall, complained of knee problems. They have taken him to the hospital, and we have not gotten any further updates. But Thomas Scheckter with Chevrolet in their last go-around in the IndyCar Series is the leader. And Scott, right now, if he can stay out of trouble and have clean pit stops, I don't see how anyone's going to pass him.
All comes down to that last 50 laps that we talked a lot about, and actually really comes down to sometimes even the last few laps. Positioning is so important. Getting out of your last pit stop quickly without any problems is so important, because it's very difficult sometimes to get somebody back if they've passed you, because they're going to make the car very wide with only a few laps left to go.
Schechter's teammate Thomas Enge currently sits in 14th place. He's getting no help, especially for the Andretti Green folks that are coming up there, and it's like one after another. They're like deadly vipers nipping at his heels. When he gets past one, there's another one there to start the pursuit, and this time it's 27 who is tucked in behind him. That is the pole sitter from earlier today, Dario Franchitti. Now check out this segue. Dario Franchitti sits in 2nd place. This week they made a big to-do in Hollywood about the new James Bond. Big search. Dario Franchitti. He has the accent, he can drive the car, he flies a helicopter, and he's already married to a literal Bond girl in Ashley Judd. It's a perfect fit.
How do they pass that up?
I have no idea. I'm sure someone from Hollywood will be calling me and see if I want to represent him, but he would be my choice for James Bond. Can't you hear Dario saying it? Bond. James Bond.
Well,
back to racing action.
What Dario's doing now, and that's Dario Franchitti, through the turns, he's starting to run a little higher than the line that Thomas Schechter is taking. So tells me his car needs a little bit of clean air to actually get the car going through the turn without it starting to give him some problems. You can see he runs just a little bit high through the middle of the turns, follows in behind the yellow car now, going down the straightaway to get that slipstream and to save a little bit of fuel. And is Weldon starting to make some moves on him.
Doc, what do you got?
Scott Goodyear, you're exactly right. Exactly what's happened with Dario Franchitti. Early in a run after a pit stop, the car turns really, really well. And they keep adding front wing, but as the tires begin to wear a little bit and heat up, the car develops a push, and he needs more of that clean air on that front wing to get the car to turn. That's why he becomes somewhat of a sitting duck here as the laps click away, and now Dan Weldon beginning to move back in. Guys?
I've noticed a trend there that Doc Punch never says, Todd Harris, you're exactly right. It's always Scott Goodyear, exactly right. Danica Patrick has moved up. She now sits in 7th place, and this is one busy young lady. We're in the land of Hollywood, and behind the scenes, Danica Patrick took a little time out to help our folks out with ESPN. This is a great spot she did with our favorite reporter at Sports Center, Dan Patrick.
Action! Hey!
That's a cut. Take your time.
Okay.
Back to 1. You're like, again, that's my car.
Yeah.
You can back it up.
That was my car.
Oh, that was your car.
Roll sound, please.
You want me to still say your spot?
It's an honest mistake. That would be a gas guzzler. Because of you, I have to drive a hybrid.
A big round of applause for Dan and Danica.
Did you have a good time on that or what?
First one, yeah. I like watching them, so I'm flattered to be asked. Bye-bye.
On board with Danica Patrick. Folks, let me tell you, I may have led you astray once or twice. Not intentionally, but believe me when I tell you, you do not want to miss the world premiere of the Danica Patrick and Dan Patrick piece that we will run after this commercial. Get the TiVo ready. It is a classic. We're in Fontana. Schechter's your leader. Stay with us.
Thanks, guys.
Hey! That was my car.
Oh, that was your car. Well, this is my parking spot. I park here every day. That's an honest mistake.
I love that.
I say pull us off the Oscar. Danica, without saying a word, stole the show. And our thanks to Dan Patrick. And again, another Sports Center classic.
I know which one goes quickest.
That's no question. I'll take Danica over Dan's hybrid any day of the week and twice on Sunday, which it is today. And Danica is on the move. She's currently sitting in 7th place, trying to get past the 91, that of Jimmy Kite in the ethanol ride.
And the ethanol actually had a program around here locally just this week with Paul Dana and Jimmy Kite and Tony Kanaan signing some autographs at a local 7-Eleven here because there is some ethanol used in the gasoline here in California. And next year, 10% ethanol in the Indy cars, and the following year, 100% ethanol. Great fuel mileage.
I'm all about saving some coin at the pump. Your leader, Thomas Schechter, as we have completed 116 laps. Dan Weldon behind him, and during that side-by-side break, Scott Goodyear said it is going to be a shootout, and I think he's right because it's the last 50 laps here at Fontana. Last year, Fontana, and what a shootout it was. Adrian Fernandez, as you ride on board with Tony Kanaan, and they go down to the tape, and it was Adrian Fernandez who edged out Tony Kanaan in one of the greatest races we had in 2004. Adrian Fernandez now has changed things just a little bit. He's going to the owner role, and he is standing by now with our Vince Welch.
That's right, Todd. 183 ten-thousandths of a second last year over Tony Kanaan. Do you miss being in the car this year?
I do miss it. Last year was a very special win. I mean, the closest we have ever been, in terms of distance, and fighting with Tony and great guys. It was fantastic, especially with our own team. And this year we're doing great. I mean, it's not the same being here, but you know, Scott and Koska doing great, and hopefully we can win it again.
Scott is currently running 5th. Do you have a chance to win? Do you feel like you've got the car to do it?
I think so. I mean, it's hard to say at this stage of the race how strong we are, but I think we're looking pretty good, so I think we're good to do it.
Yeah, just took 3rd place away. By the way, Adrian Fernandez put in the California Speedway Walk of Fame this weekend. Jamie?
Well, Vince, I'm with Gary Pettigo, one of the owners of the number 4 car who's leading right now. Gary, we've talked about it the whole show. Chevy is leaving. What would this mean to you guys and Chevy in your relationship to take home a win today?
Oh, it'd really be special. I mean, we've had kind of a tough year, but the Pennzoil Panther Dolores Chevrolet is really, really working well. Thomas is doing an outstanding job, and we got our fingers crossed, but we think we can get it to the end.
Well, I know Thomas Schechter's contract is up with you guys this year. I think he's going to make your decision quite tough with this performance.
I'd like to be able to tell you that everything's all worked out and we're all set for next year, but we're not. We've got several issues to deal with yet, but we're working very hard to deal with them, and hopefully in the next 30 days we'll know where we're at.
Well, the Panther Pennzoil team looks to take home their 3rd win in 4 starts here at California Speedway. Guys?
Well, this is interesting. This is no fluke. This is the 3rd time in 4 years at Fontana that Schechter has led at the halfway mark. Can he pick up his first win at California today? No one has ever won when leading at the halfway point. Now, remember, Notre Dame, they've never lost with their green jerseys, but that happened yesterday to USC. And Vitor Mira has come into the pits.
Foot on the brakes.
Who is running currently in 6th spot. Certainly a threat to be there. Some wing adjustments going on by the crew members.
All clear, all clear.
Nice clean stop. Now he needs to get out of the pit lane, not going over 60 miles an hour, and blend back up into the racetrack as Thomas Schechter, who's the leader, will put him a lap down and down to Vince Welch.
Scott Sharp coming into the pit box. It has been a very good car for Sharp, although earlier he said it's getting tighter and tighter, so they're going to make an adjustment here. But as you see, comes in, hits his marks perfectly. Firestone Firehawks are on. There's the chassis adjustment. The leader coming out of 4. Away he goes, and here comes the leaders coming by down the straightaway as well.
So Sharp will go a lap down as Thomas Schechter continues to turn out laps. And now it's Andretti Green's time to shine as Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan both come in, and we check in with Doc Punch.
And Dario Franchitti, our pole sitter, will hit first. He will add for some more front wing as you are watching Thomas Schechter, our leader on the racetrack. Both Kanaan and Franchitti on pit road. Watch for Schechter to make his move. 123 laps. It will be one more pit stop for all these teams. Another great stop by Franchitti. Kyle Warrior and company getting in at 9.1 seconds. And Kanaan now exits pit road as Schechter is still waiting and leading.
On board with Tony Kanaan. Great pit work done there. Scott, what a rush. I mean, it's only 9-10 seconds. It seems like an eternity for the driver, but what a rush for the guys that work down there. The over-the-wall guys, what an amazing job they do.
And as a driver, you rely on them so heavily as we now watch Thomas Schechter followed very closely by Danny Weldon coming into the pit lane. Remember, 60 miles an hour.
Thomas, reset your fuel. I got you.
Jamie?
Very nice save by Dan Weldon there. Thomas Schechter, your leader, coming down pit road now. Started 2nd on the day. His car has been flawless. He's had no problems. The car's been perfect. You see him putting the fuel in. 4 tires. Guys, they want to keep it here. We've been talking all day how big this win would be for Thomas Schechter, the 25-year-old South African. And it's actually, they're having problems with Thomas Schechter. He stalled it, guys. And the clock keeps ticking. Unbelievable turn of events, and they got him back out.
What a tough break for Thomas Schechter. They have been so good today. A flawless pit stop for Dan Weldon a moment ago as he was in and out in 10.1 seconds. And Danica Patrick, can she pull off the win here in the final race of the year? What a remarkable season she has had. This Argent team here for Bobby Rahal and David Letterman. Her pit stop coming up in a couple of laps as she has led twice today, as you see now. And there are rain clouds on the horizon. You know what could happen here? Anything could happen here in the finale of the year. Guys?
I told you, she's back. Thomas Schechter's 15-second pit stop snafu causes problems. Danica decides now is the right time as she comes in and we check in with Vince Welch.
Danica coming down pit lane. This is her 17th race of the season. She's the Rookie of the Year. They're encouraging her to make sure she hits her marks appropriately. No chassis adjustments expected.
Put on the brakes, keep the revs up, watch that. It's a full fuel, no other changes.
You're hearing Ray Lato, her engineer. The time ticking away, over 9 seconds and 10 seconds.
All clear, all clear, all clear.
11.4, Scott, not the fastest we've seen today. 8.7, and once again, Elio Castroneves having to bring the speed down. He was flying down there, locking up the tires, and he gets a little white puff of smoke coming off those. He's getting new Firestone Firehawks, but for Elio, he's been kind of quiet today.
Well, had to just get a situation where he can make the car work for him. We'll see if there's any changes on the front wings at all from any of the crew members. Does not look like there's changes whatsoever. A lot of time for the fuel to go in because it's now gravity fed, and as the fuel is unloaded from the tank, it just takes longer for that fuel to actually go into the car. That's why these stops are starting to get a little bit longer now, Todd.
The leader now becomes number 10. That is Jacques Lazier driving for Chip Ganassi. Sam Hornish comes down to pit row. See how quick he can get this done. Oh my, that's got to be short fuel.
Faster than your local service station, isn't it? 4 tires, 30 gallons of fuel in just over 6 seconds. You asked me about the crew before, Todd. These guys train every day back in the shop. They do simulated pit stop tests. They actually work out with their trainers. They try to get better physical conditions so they can lift those wheels and tires and put them on. This is as much of an art form for these guys working on the crew as it is for the drivers driving the cars.
Back up to speed with 70 laps to go in Fontana, the final race of the IndyCar season in 2005. Dan Weldon has already claimed the title and the Indy 500 crown, and right now Weldon sits in 3rd place. Back on board with Thomas Scheckter, the number 4 Panther Pennzoil. He was leading the race, came into the pits, and as Jamie Little reported, his car was flawless, and this is where it all went wrong.
3, 2, 1, straight in, nice and cool, nice and cool. The engine stopped, Get the starter with the back.
What a heads-up situation for Thomas Scheckter, letting those guys know the engine has stalled on the way in. Always difficult to get the fuel back through the system once the engine is hot. And that can right there is usually some ether to pour it down into the top of the car. Usually it likes to be sprayed right into the air inlet, which is actually just above the driver's helmet. There we go. Might need a can that's maybe going to work.
Yeah, didn't look like it had a stem on it, and that cost him an extra 5 or 6 seconds, which doesn't seem like a whole lot if you're one of the Pep boys. But here in the IndyCar Series, 5 or 6 seconds, that's almost half a lap.
That's a half a track, because certainly he's about a half a lap behind right now. But if it's green, difficult to catch up in this situation. If there's a yellow, they'll pack up.
We have gone complete full circle as the pole sitter now is your leader. Dario Franchitti leads. Can he hold on and make it stick to lap 200? Stick around and find out. Folks, next weekend, the NHRA Powerade Series moves on to Nevada for the AC Delco Las Vegas Nationals. Saturday, catch the Budweiser shootout at 10 Eastern, followed by qualifying at 10:30, and final elimination Sunday at 8 Eastern on ESPN2. The AC Delco Las Vegas Nationals are also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. Back in Fontana for the finale of the IndyCar Series, it's the Toyota Indy 400. We are on lap 137, scheduled for 200. And as of now, you see a battle for 3rd and 4th. Dan Weldon has clinched it. Look at the battle between 3rd and 4th. 1 point. I don't need an abacus to tell you, Scotty, that's close.
That's why positioning is going to be so important to get the run for the checkered here.
Andretti Green looking for a sweep there. If they can get their man Dario Franchitti a couple extra points to slide ahead of Penske's driver Sam Hornish Jr., it would be an Andretti Green sweep of the podium, 1, 2, and 3 on the overall as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And guys, for Penske Racing, there is a huge incentive bonus that's going to be paid by many of their sponsors if they get both cars to finish in the top 5 in points. The big worry today was Elio Castroneves, who came into this race 5th in points, but only 6 points ahead of Scott Sharp. They have told Elio, you have got to finish in front of Scott Sharp. We have got to have that car in 5th and have both in the top 5 to get that big incentive paycheck. And right now, Scott Sharp is 4th and Castro Neves is 7th.
Elio Castroneves has certainly been quiet today. We have not called his number out much. There you see his teammate number 6. That is Sam Hornish Jr., and he is jockeying for space. And look at this, running Scott Sharp high up on the wall. I don't know if Sam Hornish Jr. just heard that report or what, but giving Scott Sharp, as we like to call it, the business.
Got a great run going into 3 and 4 behind Tony Kanaan, but remember, Tony Kanaan's cutting a hole in the air. That means no air going to the front wings of Sam Hornish's car. And the car starts to push itself up the road, down a couple of gears for Tony Kanaan. Looks like he had some problems right there coming out of 2. So Hornish will take advantage of that and now go around the high side. Kanaan's trying to push him up into 3 to take the corner away from him. And Sam relinquishes it very smartly. Otherwise, you're going to have some tire contact there.
2 of the best in the business right there in open wheel racing. Tony Kanaan, number 11, last year's IndyCar Series champion. Sam Hornish Jr. tucks in behind him. He driving for Roger Penske, one of the best teams in the business. As we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders on lap 141, it is Schechter with 80 of them. Kanaan with 29. Franchitti's picked up 13. Jacques Lazier up front for 8 laps, driving for Chip Ganassi and the now pink Target Chip Ganassi cars in remembrance of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Dan Weldon's only had 7 up front. Danica Patrick picked up 2, and of course Sam Hornish Jr. living large up front for only 1 lap.
And speaking of Sam Hornish Jr., as we've been watching him battle Tony Kanaan, coming up through now looking at Danny Weldon. Remember, he had that drive-through, so he is actually a lap down. What he's trying to accomplish right now is to get past all these cars in front of him, take the lead of this race. So if there is a yellow that comes out, he then gets to go around to the tail end of the lead lap. That's why he's got his foot on the gas 110% right now.
Sam Hornish Jr. started 3rd. He is currently sitting in 12th.
Here we look back at Hornish again, having a little look at Danny Weldon. You can hear the RPMs just get a little bit lower in the engine going through the turn, just binding up a little bit from 10,300 down to about 10,000 even. Top 3 gear ratios, 4th, 5th, and 6th are so close in these cars. The drivers have to watch their illuminated dash. The bar graph will tell them exactly when they need to upshift and downshift.
Riding on board with Dan Weldon, the Klein Tools Honda. He is the champion for the season, but he is a greedy young Brit. He'd like to get another checkered flag and get the record 7 wins on this year. But when he was in a calmer mood, he sat down with one of his rivals, that being Danica Patrick. And here's part 2 of Dan and Danica. Call it 21 questions or truth or dare, but it is compelling television.
Sports Illustrated or National Enquirer?
Sports Illustrated. Go-karts or Formula One? Just a tool around. So you got to just go out one day and drive a Formula One car.
Go-karts.
Go-karts.
Okay, Indy 500 Rookie of the Year or 2005 Bombardier Rookie of the Year? That's easy.
You know, I'd go for the whole year Rookie of the Year, of course, because you know it's the whole year. You know, you have to do it all.
You smoked everybody. What does it matter?
I would choose the IRL Rookie of the Year because one race is one race, but a whole season takes a lot more.
Okay, I like your style.
Indy 500 winner or champion?
Girl, that's easy, easy. I'm different to you. Indy 500.
But what's harder?
What's harder? I think the 500 is harder. Person.
Have you been in love?
Oh, she's good, huh? Car.
Dan Weldon a little squeamish right there. He doesn't mind going 215 around Fontana's track here. You ask him a personal question, though, all bets are off. Dario Franchitti's number 27. Sam Hornish Jr. is number 6. And it is Franchitti, your leader, with Dan Weldon sitting in 2nd. Sam Hornish is down a lap. And he is hoping for a yellow right now.
Hornish is going to get the slipstream, try the high side. Now what he's going to try and do is box the 27 car of Dario Franchitti down on the low side, so when they get up to the 2 of Thomas Enge, Dario will have to lift his foot off the gas and allow Hornish to go by on the high side. Watch how close they go now through the tri-oval into turn 1. That's exactly what Hornish is trying to accomplish. Push him down, push him down. All this at 215, 16 miles an hour. Remember, you're looking straight ahead. He gets the job done. Oh, down below the white line. Remember, we're playing for keeps here in this last race.
You are watching ESPN's coverage of the Toyota Indy 400 from the California Speedway in Fontana. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and Jamie Little in the pits. And we have got a good one here. They say that there's nothing on the line but pride, and they are all looking for a big helping of that before we go into the winter layoff. Dario Franchitti is your leader. Dan Weldon sits in second and Tony Kanaan in third. And Danny Weldon decides to go up and check out the giggle weeds up in the gray area.
Oh, I'm not sure he decided he wanted to do that, Todd. I think the car just put him up there. Because if I was in that seat, I would want to be down on the low side.
If you were in that seat, you might be coming in for a change of fire suit.
Is that what you call the depends moment?
I would be in there probably just before you. So they've settled themselves down a little bit, and we have come to that magical moment where Scott says the last 50 laps. We'll keep an eye on that. For more on the 50 laps, a man who's been there before, let's check in with Vince Welch and Bobby Rahal.
Well, Rahal Letterman's had some good success here at this racetrack, and now Vitor Meira having a good run, and also Danica staying on the lead lap. What do you see as your chances down the stretch, Bobby?
Well, I think Vitor's being pretty cagey right now. He's leaned out quite a bit. He's kind of letting those guys tow him along. He's been happy with the car all day, so I think he's strong. Danica, I think we got a little too much. I think we got a little too much downforce in it. When she's by herself, she's, just we're a little bit off top speed-wise, but so far she's doing a great job.
Thanks, Bob.
Sam Hornish decides to come in on lap 151, so he is rolling the dice. Scott, can he get it done from here on out without a yellow?
Not if it's all green. He's going to have to come in for a splash of fuel. Obviously, if there is a yellow, then he'll take advantage of that. We'll have to see how this plays out right now. There again, get out and get going as quickly as possible to get back up to speed. This is where the drivers earn their pay. The drivers that can drive the car up to the edge and maybe a little bit more. And here he is coming off the apron in turn 2. He's already doing 180 miles an hour, Todd. And these guys are going to blow by, doing somewhat around 210, 215. A beautiful blend in here. Boy, he's up to speed fast.
So it's Franchitti, Kanaan, and Weldon. Andretti Green's three-headed monster now rules the roost at the California Speedway. With 48 laps to go, who will get the victory in the finale? Stick around and find out. You are looking at Patrick Carpentier, part of the Red Bull Cheever team, coming in for a pit stop. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, the Red Bull Cheever team is making a big announcement today. Unfortunately, Red Bull, their main sponsor, is pulling out, but it's because they're moving on to F1. They bought a second team there. So Eddie Cheever hopes to be back next year. Eddie, right now, with your plans, what is expected for 2006 with you guys?
We have a contract with Toyota to run 2 cars next year. We will be doing it to the best of our ability. We're sad, obviously, to see Red Bull leave and go to just race Formula One, but we've had a great time with him, and it's been a great experience. And right now, I'm more focused on my cars out here than what happens in 206.
Alex Barron, Patrick Carpentier both hope to be back on the team next year. Right now, Alex Barron is not signed, but Patrick Carpentier has 1 more year left on his contract. Guys?
Well, it is nervous time, not only in this race, Scotty, but for drivers next year. And there's a lot of rumblings out there of drivers who may or may not come back. And you're really driving for your job right here. The impression you leave, I guess, with your owner is what they're going to think about the next couple months.
Always is the case. These 2 drivers up front, though, Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan, certainly know that they're going to be back with the teams that they're driving for, just driving for pride.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And they are a bit pensive and nervous down here in the Dario Franchitti pit. They have told Dario, you have got to save fuel. We've got to get you to lap 162 to make that final pit stop. He fended off his teammate Tony Kanaan a minute ago, and Dan Weldon, and even his wife, the lovely Ashley Judd, very pensive now. She knows the score. She knows her husband has got to be able to tease at least 3 more laps out of this car to get to 162, or else he won't make it all the way. If he comes in before then, in fact, it's still going to be very, very close. Watch it. He's trying to fend off everybody there, trying to hold, save fuel, and trying to protect his spot. 2 laps away from a pit stop.
So my pick for the new James Bond has got a tall order in front of him. Dario Franchitti, the Scotsman, trying to hold off teammate Tony Kanaan. And Dan Weldon's getting back in there. He's a little bit froggy, and you don't want to know why? Because Sam Hornish Jr. giving him the proverbial business at 215 miles an hour. This was just 2 laps ago when Weldon, the series champion, and Hornish had a little conference.
Hornish trying to move the car down so quickly. Not sure why that's the case, but look at the banking difference on the front stretch down to that apron. The front area is probably around 12 degrees. The banking here in the turn somewhere around 14. So I'll tell you what, there's not too many times you get away with that. Some great driving.
It's Franchitti, number 27, the blue and red car. His teammate, you are riding on board with that, is Tony Kanaan, the Brazilian. And once again, Hornish goes way up high. What is the deal?
Did you see how loose that car is? Once he gets behind the rear wing of the car in front, that thing is just crawling itself up the road. He's driving the wheels off that thing.
So at this point, are they telling Dan Weldon, stay away from Hornish? He's obviously not giving you the business. He cannot control that car.
Well, I'd say stay in front of Sam Hornish right now because he's not taking his foot off the gas for anything. The car's just dancing around.
They come together once again, and they're going to do the dance at 2:15. Meanwhile, Dario Franchitti trying to hold off his teammate Scott. Why are they not working together?
The cars are not working as well as they need to in the turns. You see everybody going up and looking for clean areas. You see right now Sharp and Weldon came off the screen coming into the pit lane. Some smoke behind the 26 of Danny Weldon locking those tires up.
Everyone coming in hot, locking up the tires as we check in with Vince Welch.
Well, the Scott Sharp team has been spending the last several laps just trying to conserve fuel. And as you see the hot racing on the track, Sharp has come in for his stop. This will be his last stop. He's the second car there behind the 26 of Dan Weldon. Tires and fuel, they're topping it off to get him to the end. Scheckter coming out as well. Let's see who's, well ahead of Scheckter. So it'll be Sharp and then Weldon, and then you see Scheckter coming down the back lane. Franchitti is coming down the pit lane, and Dr. Jerry Punch will have that stop.
60 miles an hour. They are less than 40 laps away from the completion of this 2005 season. Dario Franchitti's final pit stop, and right in front of him, Tony Kanaan. Let's see which one of these dreaded green teams will win this race off pit road. This is probably the final pit stop of the year. Left side of your screen, the leader, as you're watching your pit stop on the right side. Great stop by Franchitti's bunch, and Kanaan 12.5 seconds as Franchitti beats him by about 2.5 seconds.
It almost seemed like he held there, Scott, momentarily, let Dario get out as not to take each other out. There's your leader, Jacques Lazier, number 10, driving for the Target Chip Ganassi team. More drivers coming into pit. Danica Patrick leads down Elio Castro Neves. Has been pointed out before, big incentives, as Dr. Punch told us, for Elio Castro Neves. If he can move up some positions, they would sorely love to have that money as we check in with Vince Welch.
Elio dominated this race last year. He led 145 of the 200 laps, but he finished only 7th. Plenty of fuel, away cleanly, no chassis adjustments on the 3-car of Castro Neves.
So he picks up a position on Danica Patrick. She will follow him out of pit road. Jacques Lazier continues to lead, and these are the last pit stops for 2005. So far, they have gone off without a hitch. Thomas Scheckter having no problems as we ride on board with Danica Patrick. Can she get her pony up and running to the front, or will it be Jacques Lazier's day? Stick around. The end's coming up. Welcome back to ESPN's live coverage of the Toyota Indy 400 from California Speedway in Fontana, California. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear and the finest pit crew in the bunch, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and Jamie Little. Your leader right now, Dario Franchitti with his teammate Tony Kanaan. We are all pitted and set to go racing. No more should happen unless a yellow comes out as we take a look at the Toyota lap leaders. And just as I say that, we've got a yellow flag. Number 55, Koski Matsura, spins out on pit row, and he did more than just spin out, Scott.
We're not sure why he ended up that way, but certainly it's a situation where the car is not going to continue. But what I think about right now, Todd, is that the race complexion has now changed Thomas Scheckter, who has been so fast, is now going to get to bunch up with the field and have an opportunity to be within a reach of the drivers in front on this restart.
Folks, if you believe me on that Dan Patrick Danica thing, stick around. We've got 29 laps, and it will be a shootout in Fontana. The final race of the season of the IndyCar circuit, and it's going to come down to a restart and a dash for the cash and the checkered flag. You make a great point, partner. Thomas Schecter's been fast. How good is he, though, on the restart, knowing that Andretti Green is just dominant?
Timing is everything. Track position is everything. We talked about that. Make sure you get a great restart because you're not going to get many opportunities to pass.
Folks, quick reminder, bounce on over to ESPN.com for Toyota Indy 400 post-race winner chat. That's post-race winner chat only on ESPN.com. The keyword is IRL. It should be memorable. This is our third yellow and hopefully the final one as they bunch back up. Come on back. We've got 29 laps to decide everything here in California. We are under yellow in Fontana at the California Speedway, the final race of the IndyCar Series. It's the Toyota Indy 400. Now the points as of now, Dan Weldon's a lock. He's got the title. There's Tony Kanaan, Sam Hornish Jr., and Dario Franchitti 2 points down, and they're looking to get, the folks at Penske, they're looking to get Elio Castroneves into that top 5 position because, as Dr. Jerry Punch said, there'd be a little extra cash on the table if they can get both their drivers in the top 5. Dr. Jerry Punch, what do you got?
And we're down here with Michael Andretti. And Michael, we just saw a moment ago that if Dario can pull this one off, I know you're sort of neutral. You like Switzerland in this whole deal with all these cars in the race. But if he can pull off the win, he may have a shot at finishing third in points. You get a 1-2-3 sweep. What are your thoughts?
Well, that was our goal coming into this weekend. You know, we just went to see if we can get him up there, and he's doing everything he can. You know, we're going to need some help from Sam for sure, but so far it's going to be quite interesting.
Fuel has been somewhat of an issue, and now you're 3 guys moving against each other out there on the racetrack, burning up some extra fuel. This yellow had to give you a little sigh of relief.
Well, I think it helped, but I think they've been watching that and you know, running together. I think they can help save a little fuel as well. So I think we're okay.
A championship and maybe a top 3 sweep for Andretti Green doesn't get much sweeter than that.
Oh, that would be unbelievable. You know, it's already been unbelievable, and the top 3 would be just a dream season.
Are you rested up for the big party tonight?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. That brought a smile. Indeed, they will be partying. They've worked awful hard, and they're going to party hard tonight here in L.A.
And I just hope their room isn't next to ours. That'd be bad news. Dan Weldon rooming next to you? You kidding me? You wouldn't be sleeping for 3 days.
Well, I hear there's a big party in L.A. tonight with them, and Michael Andretti and the team owners did something really neat. They actually flew in all the spouses from the team. They had a big party here at the track last night, Saturday night. Then they have a big deal tonight, obviously, in L.A., the award ceremony Monday night, and then a big deal in Long Beach on Tuesday. So big party going on for a long time.
This is the race for third place overall, as you saw Sam Hornish Jr. and Dario Franchitti, and you heard Dr. Jerry Punch's interview with Michael Andretti saying how nice it would be to be able to sweep that podium. But I got to tell you, they're getting greedy. They got the Indy 500, they got the 2005 season. They're asking for a lot, but if anyone can pull it off, it is them. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Gary Pettigo, we're checking in with him again. He's been a man to watch all day. Thomas Scheckter, right now, 30 laps to go, a little less than 30 laps. Where do you guys stand on fuel strategy?
We're in good shape. It's going to be exciting to the end. Thomas is absolutely driving the wheels off of it, so stick around. It's going to get real exciting here in about 2 laps.
It's going to get real exciting. Scheckter is always a firecracker at the end. Hey, we're talking about Andretti having a party. Perhaps we could see you guys have a good party tonight with Chevy.
It'll be a big one, yeah. The Chevy Indy V8 has done a tremendous job. It's a great motor. Sorry to see it go. Hopefully we can get it in winner's circle today.
All right, Thomas Scheckter has led the most laps today, guys. Stay tuned. We'll see if he can hold it to the end.
A lot of parties tonight, but still a lot of racing to go. 25 laps, and we have decided to go pit, and we check in with Vince.
Sam Hornish Jr. had a pit speed violation earlier in the race. That put him a lap down. They've making a chassis adjustment here. Fuel and tires, they short fueled at about lap 128, but they've got him back on sequence now, and we'll have to see. He'll need a little bit of luck to get up toward the front and challenge here in the final 26 laps.
Some amazing driving by Sam Hornish Jr. just to keep up front there and get in front of these guys, trying to get his laps back. But as Vince Welch said, it's a long way to go from where he's sitting right now to get through all those competitive cars up towards the front. I'd have to say Thomas Scheckter has a lot more of an opportunity to do that than Sam Hornish.
All right, it's genius time, everybody. So get your thinking caps on. It's the final time I will ask you in 2005 with 25 laps to go. Scott Goodyear, who you got?
Well, I had picked Thomas Scheckter on the way into the race today. I'm going to stick with that one. I know it's a bit of a long shot right now, but he is a man possessed.
Vince Welch, who do you got with 25 to go?
I'll tell you what, I earlier in the race thought maybe Sam Hornish would be the guy to beat, but I think right now I have to go with the guy who's sitting in front. I don't want to be a front runner necessarily, but I like Dario.
Dr. Punch.
I likewise, listening to his teammates on the radio, they want to see Dario win, but they're not going to make it easy, but they want to push him across and maybe get him third in the points. I'm going for Franchitti.
Jamie?
You guys are all copycats because I called it earlier today. I said Franchitti. You know, nobody's won from the pole here at California Speedway. I just had a hunch about Franchitti today, and now I see you guys are all jumping on my bandwagon.
I can't believe she called you guys out like that. Wow. So we got some votes for Franchitti. Mr. Goodyear decides to go with Mr. Scheckter.
Well, Mr. Harris.
I've always liked the weather down in Brazil. I like Tony Kanaan. No one restarts better, and we see him at the start of the races. This guy can pick off 10 positions like nobody's business. So it will be, in my book, Tony Kanaan. We will see what happens as they bring it out of turn 3 and into turn 4. You heard it. Green flag is out. Release the hounds in Fontana. And I get the feeling there are no driving orders, Scotty.
Last race this season, and whoa, those two guys between Weldon and Sharp getting very close. Remember, Weldon has had a car that's been pushing up the track all the time. He did not want to be on the bottom. That's why he slid up to Sharp. He's now going to try and retreat back up to the high side where his car seems to have been most comfortable for him. And if it's going to work for him, he's going to have to stay up there all day long.
And there is some fish shaking out there. I thought for a second I was going to look like a genius. That's never happened in my lifetime, as Tony Kanaan got a great run, a great restart. Thomas Scheckter, your boy.
Look who's lurking. On the low line. Very smart place to be. He'll have that fuel turned up to 100%. Taking a look at Mira right now.
Danica Patrick, as we rode on board with her moments ago, she made a jump up. She's now sitting in 8th place.
Mira had moved up the racetrack to try and make Scheckter have to take the high line, so we'll see what happens now. Oh, Mira back down on the apron. Danny Weldon giving him no room. Mira knows he has to get the job done. Second twice so far this year, including Indy. 3 wide. I would not want to be in the top side with Weldon's car moving up all the time. You know, Todd Scheckter says, guys, if you're not going to give me that low side, I'll just go around the top.
We got a SIG alert in Fontana as they are bunching up at 215 miles an hour. This is the way you should commute to work in Southern California. Dario Franchitti continues to lead, and Danica decides to go down to no man's land. She recovers quickly, but when she comes back up, Jacques Lazaire is in her spot.
Man, am I glad I'm in the booth now. These guys are crazy.
Great piece of driving. With 20 laps to go, they keep it wound up over 215. Dario Franchitti checks in with a 2:16.6.
Remember, Mira right now is not on the driving docket over at Ray Hall Letterman we hear so far next year. Trying to prove his worth as he's chasing Scott Sharp.
Watch this. Danica gets pushed down below the white line.
Yeah, because right now the 26 of Weldon and the Jimmy Incline 2 car went up high, and man, what a great piece of driving twice by Danica Patrick.
And Jacques Lazaire, give him some credit as well.
Absolutely. She's saying, I just want to get to my wedding date, guys.
20 laps to go in Fontana, and the IndyCar season comes to a conclusion. And look at Jacques Lazaire flying the pink proudly, staying just in front of Danica Patrick.
Todd, I talked to Jacques before the race today, and he said anything better than 10th is like a win for me. And he has really given it a good run for Chip Ganassi today, currently running 7th.
Good report, Vince. He's currently running 7th, and he looks strong. His car is absolutely on mark today.
I'll tell you what's happening here, guys, is coming through turns 1 and 2. All those cars are pushing up onto the high side, going down the backstretch to protect their position. And this is an accident waiting to happen right now. Using so much of the track on the way out, up to the high side, snaking back down to the low side. Sooner or later, we're going to touch. And in the thick of all that, the 16, Danica Patrick.
She's got 2 bogeys of Penske on the backside right now, trying to hold them off. Danica Patrick sits in 8th. Dario Franchitti is your leader. His teammate Tony Kanaan has shown a proclivity for not riding team rules. Kanaan, one of the best restarters. Is he lurking, Scott? Is he waiting to get a run on Dario Franchitti, or will he help him get the victory?
I gotta believe that he wants to win it so bad himself that he'll take advantage of it if he has to do it cleanly. That means taking advantage of maybe a miscue on Dario Franchitti's part. Is he gonna play dirty pool, push him down below the white line? I don't think so.
They seem to be working together right now. Dario Franchitti just driving his race. His wife, Ashley Judd, no question she can be a Bond girl. She can be Mrs. Bond. And James Bond 2006, Dario Franchitti is out in front with Tony Kanaan, and all Ashley can do is watch. Duck punch.
And as she watches her husband, as you watch your husband try to fend off his teammate, Ashley Judd, very nervous. She knows how much her husband wants us. All weekend, Dario has said, we've had miscues, we've had mistakes, we've had misfortunes. We should have easily won 4 races, maybe 5. Maybe we should be champion this year.
We got an incident, big incident in turn 4. Danica Patrick has made contact with the wall.
Couple
2
of cars
involved. One of them is certainly the target Chip Ganassi car, Danica Patrick.
All right, take your time. You're fine. Car's not burning. You're fine. Safety truck's there. Safety truck's right with you. Let those guys help you.
See how fast these safety trucks get there, Todd? We talked about that in AJ Force's
Hey, nice job either way.
The good news is Danica is up. She is moving. The driver for Rahal Letterman drove a fantastic race. But Scott, you're a genius. You called it. You said this is too close at too high of speeds. This is an accident waiting to happen. She does not want to get in the safety car. She wants to make the walk back.
Walk back, but certainly has to go into the hospital, be checked out right there. A lot of disappointment.
That is a very disappointed Jacques Lazier.
Just lives down the road. He's been speaking with the team. Maybe an opportunity for him there next year, and so dedicated that he wants to do this so bad. He said, you know something, if I have the opportunity to drive for this team next year, I will move to Indianapolis.
Jacques Lazier, truly one of the great guys. Here it is one more time. Danica on the high side. Oh, we saw that earlier, Scott.
Cars just start to slide when you start to come off that last portion of the turn. Looks like maybe Jacques Lazier's car start to walk up, and we're only talking maybe 6 inches, Todd. We'll have to go back and look at that replay a few more times. Watch in relation to the white line on the bottom. The 10 car looks like it just moves up only 6 or 8 inches and just enough to touch tires, and off you go.
On board with Danica, this is how it looks from her perspective.
She just got the run on Jacques Lazier coming out of 2 over all those bumps down the backstretch. So close right there all the way. Looks like the line's going straight. Just creeps up and gets that left rear.
You called it. You said they were going to touch.
That is so hard. I have had that hit so many times. Listen to this. You know something? Up, the wing goes off, the back of the gearbox is there. Now, all those pieces stay attached, Todd. The wheel, the wing, and everything of that nature, all those large pieces, because of all the attachments they have, the cables, the swems that actually are there to retain those pieces of the car to the main part of the car. Those parts are not flying around the racetrack.
We had the safer barrier up there, so that's always got to help as we check in quickly with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, we were talking about Jacques Lazier. He's having a great day. It's his 50th IndyCar race, and he was leading some laps. What did you see there?
Well, it's unfortunate, Jamie. I'm saying that girl's been just... There's no place for him to go.
You think that was intentional? You think that was racing?
Well, I don't know if it was intentional or not, or if it was just racing. It's damn dangerous is what it is.
Is everything all right? Did you hear him on the radio?
No, he's fine. He's fine. But he said, look, he said, I'm at the white line and she's coming down on me. Where's he supposed to go?
Maybe that was just a little retaliation because we saw Danica Patrick come below the white line, be pushed down. So we'll have to wait and see what Danica has to say about it. And right now we go to Vince Welch.
Well, with Ray Lato, Danica's engineer, Chip saying that Danica was pinching him. How did you see it, Ray?
Well, you know, we've been running with Lazier all day, and he's been kind of all over the place. He's chopped her once or twice. Looked like to me, from where I was seeing it, he understeered up into her rear tire. That's what she felt too. So I mean, we'll just have to look at the replay. Tough way to end the season for the Argent Pioneer Honda car. We had a great season, and you know, we obviously wanted to finish in the top 10 today with Danica.
Thanks, Ray.
Well, Scott, good year. You've seen almost every angle possible. I'm going to let you have the first shot at this one.
If Chip doesn't wear glasses, he might actually have to go get some, because I got to think that the 10 car actually just starts to work itself up the racetrack just a little bit. And like I said, Todd, we're only talking 6 or 8 inches as we watch here right now. Watch the 10 car in relation to the white line. It's just creeping itself up the track just a little bit. And you know something? That's not a lot. You feel it a little bit in the steering wheel. The steering wheel's getting light and moving itself up. He doesn't want to take his foot off the gas. On a looser position. Here's another replay. Remember, we talked about going over the bumps, getting a good run, going down in turn 3, and so close right there. That's enough to tell you that this is an accident waiting to happen.
But I'll play devil's advocate. Look how close he is to the white line. He really has nowhere to go, and I
there's
understand
space
that.
there. Watch this. He's got about a half a car width down there, but it's up to the guy in the bottom that if he cannot continue to keep his line, he's got to start to take his foot off the gas and get the pressure back on the front wheels to get the car to grip around the turn. But my point is, right now, the car's creeping up. You can see how it just starts to creep up. But as a driver, you will not take your foot off the gas.
Right.
And so that's what he doesn't want to do that, but unfortunately the car is creeping past him that she doesn't know he's starting to walk up the racetrack a little bit. Otherwise, she would have given him some more space.
In layman's terms, she had the right of way, and he was just too stubborn to back it off.
And the yield sign maybe wasn't big enough, if that's what you're asking me. I've driven with you. I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, unfortunately, as they both said, an fortunate way for them to end their year and end their day as Danica Patrick goes out with just about 15 laps to go, making contact with Jacques Lazier. But as Scott Goodyear pointed out, 4 or 5 laps they were doing touch.
And it looked like it was going to happen. It has. Now what I like is with just maybe 10 laps left to go, maybe 8 before we get a green flag here once they've cleaned up, is the chase to the flag. You've got Franchitti, Kanaan, Sharp, Mira, who hasn't won. He's been second so many times. Thomas Scheckter, who has a lot to prove, obviously, after the car stalls in the pit lane. Franchitti wants to stay in front, try and collect maximum point. Kanaan had a good season, not so bad. Second in the points championship. I'm looking at those 3 guys right now. Scott Sharp, Mira, and Scheckter all want to get up to the front. I'm not so sure we haven't seen our last yellow.
Thomas Scheckter is lurking, and I say lurking in 5th place because all day long that Chevrolet has really had the dominant power. Unfortunately, they are leaving the series. This will be their last race, and what a way to send them out if Thomas Scheckter could have the restart of his lifetime. But Tony Kanaan is the restart master, and I got to think that Kanaan is saying, I've just been handed the golden goose with 10 laps to go. Watch this.
And remember, nobody's got any fuel issues right now. It's 100% fuel, 100% horsepower coming out of the particular make and model. This is what's going to be the fun part.
Doc, what do you got?
Well, Franchitti's the leader, but this guy here, Kanaan, he could be the real catalyst as to whether one of those guys win the race, because they have told Tony Kanaan, be careful, watch the guy behind you, the 8 car. And also, the car we're real worried about is that number 4 car, that Chevy that's awfully strong. He's going to be coming in a hurry. Tony said, you know, it's not my first rodeo. I've been here a long time. I know what's coming, but the question is, can I hold him off?
Well, it's an interesting turn of juxtaposition for Tony Kanaan. Usually he is the attacker or the pursuee, and now he is saying, well, I may be the target. People are going to be looking at me. Is he now, Scotty, the bait?
Well, for certain, he will actually try and make his car very wide to anybody that might try and go past him. And let's talk about the restart here just a little bit. There's 2 cones, one here and one in this position, coming up through turn 3, through turn 4, and when they get into this area here, that is what they call the acceleration zone. Do not start before you get to the first cone, which is right here, and make sure that you are on the gas before you get to the second cone. All that said and done, will the drivers actually obey the rules here? If it was up to me, maybe I'd make sure that I'd be on there just before I got to the zone and get through the gearbox crisply, cleanly, and get down to turn 1 as fast as you can.
With 16 races under our belts, I've got to think that Thomas Scheckter knows that Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan are not going to check up and do a delayed restart. So I'm wondering if Thomas Scheckter is going to come out of turn 3 and jump the gas a little early and try to time it just right.
This is where you've got your foot on the gas and you take your left foot, put it on the brake to slow the car down if you want a little bit, but your foot is on the gas to keep maximum RPMs with that engine.
10 laps to go. Jamie Little, what do you got?
Well, Todd, I'm back at the medical center. Good news, Danica Patrick and Jacques Lazier both say they're fine. They checked out fine. Danica said she has a bruise on her elbow. We're waiting for both drivers to come out and hopefully get both of their sides on what happened here. Since everybody's saying their opinions, we'll get it straight from the drivers. Right now, let's go to Doc.
You know, Tony Kanaan's defense may be a little bit handcuffed here. I just heard a moment ago from the team behind me that he may be really short on fuel. They did a short fill on that last stop, so he's got to go about another 2 or 3 laps if we go green before he can turn the fuel back up to full power. He may not have the power to hold anybody off. It may be Franchitti who's got to outrun him up front, guys.
And the best stats man in the business just handed me a car that we shouldn't forget, Scott Sharp's team in 3rd. Now, they won this race last year with Adrian Fernandez Racing. So Adrian, I'm sure, is staying very close to Scott Sharp, number 8. There is his wife, Kim, and we saw the emotion that she had in Kentucky, and what would it mean for her and their family to get another victory. Scott Sharp certainly deserving, as is every driver that is out there. But he has worked so hard and been in this circuit for so long. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, guys, you're looking at Thomas Scheckter currently sitting 5th, and Sam Hornish is 7th. They just came over the radio and told Scheckter if Hornish can catch up to you, he's going to try to give you a boost. He'll try to help you. So look for Scheckter and Hornish to possibly team up here.
Interesting. They've got Dan Weldon in between them. So the scenarios are aplenty. How will it play out? We will have to wait and see. And hopefully the next time they come around, we will be set to go green. All right, Scott Goodyear. They pay you a whole lot of money to be smart up here. What's going to happen?
Well, we got to get green flag this lap?
Yes, we are. Here
this
we
is
go.
The part that I love. I'd be up in the tail box right there in the very back section of the car, so we have that time.
Cinch up your belt and pull up to the table. The feast is on in Fontana. Kanaan to the outside. Sharp tucks right in behind Franchitti.
Now the first 2 guys up front there want to get in line because of their side-by-side. They're going to end up going slower. These guys fanning out here in the back section need to start aligning themselves with somebody, start working on that draft. Here comes Scheckter, who did not really get as great of a restart as I thought that he was going to get.
It is really a 7-man race. Sam Hornish Jr. trying to help out Thomas Scheckter. Dan Weldon not helping their cause. And it is Andretti Green going 1 and 2. Dario Franchitti, the pole sitter, is your leader. Tony Kanaan just off his right-hand side.
Ashley Judds is standing there watching the laps go by. Very difficult for the spouses in this business. You see their drivers out the front, their husbands going by the front stretchaway for about 8 seconds or 9 seconds.
6 laps to go.
Then the remaining portion of the circuit, you don't know anything's going on. Very interesting to see. She does not wear a headset. She does not want to hear what's going on the radio. A big high run up there by Sam Hornish Jr. and Weldon very closely behind him.
And Scott, you mentioned Sam Hornish Jr. So much for Hornish teaming up with Scheckter on that restart. Hornish went right by him. You mentioned Scheckter didn't get a very good restart, and Hornish took advantage.
Kanaan 4 feet off the back bumper of Dario Franchitti. They seem to be working together, and Thomas Scheckter is unable to catch the party up front. It is Franchitti, Kanaan, and Vitor Mira.
Now let's watch these first 2 cars. Franchitti always gets the low side going down the backstretch, not to open it up. He doesn't want to let any room for Kanaan to get on the inside. Now he starts to work the car a little higher, going up the turn to force Kanaan to go a little higher. This is now, he's looking in the mirrors. He's making sure he's watching where Kanaan's going. He's listening to the spotters. And right now he just felt and he heard Kanaan was starting to look inside, high side. Watch the variance in his line right now. He'll start to drive that car to make it wider. 217.5 miles an hour that last time around. He'll watch every time he goes by the stripe. Was that lap I just did a little quicker? Was it a little slower? What's my best line for me to go the fastest? So Tony has to be able to go just a bit quicker to get around me. Now see, he's placing the car perfectly. Not enough room on the bottom to allow Tony to take the low line, and just too much of a height up the racetrack to make him go around the high side on the trioval.
3 laps to go in Fontana. Franchitti leads, Kanaan in second, and everyone else is just chasing. 217.5 miles an hour. The fans are standing on their feet at the California Speedway. 2 laps to go, and it all comes down to this. Andretti Green, Honda teammates. Scott, this is probably how it should come down.
They've run so strong all year. They won the Indianapolis 500, 2 championships for the drivers, 2 championships for Honda with the manufacturer's title. Look how low down that white line. And he pops the car up just a little higher to take the line away from Kanaan, making him go around the high side. Some heads-up driving, smart driving by Dario Franchitti. You can tell you right now his foot is not off that gas pedal whatsoever.
The white flag is out. Excuse me, Scott. The white flag is out. The final lap of the 2005 season is underway. Dario Franchitti, can he hold off his teammate Tony Kanaan? And the emotion just too great for Ashley Judd. Kanaan will try to go to the outside. Franchitti holding the inside line. As they come out of turn number 4, Tony Kanaan makes a run at the line. It is Dario Franchitti. The surf is up at Laguna Beach, and Dario Franchitti is riding a wave to victory lane here at Fontana.
We are down here with Ashley, and she gives me a big hug. Ashley, turn around. So much emotion. He did it, Ashley. He wanted it so badly, and he got it.
There are a lot of races this year where we were quickest and various things kept us from winning, but I'd like to say hi to Rick and Donna and to the kids up in Vancouver. It means a great deal to win this race, and Greg is, if you will, the elephant in the room, and we just love him and miss him so much, and it's very meaningful to win here. And I can't ask for someone better against whom to race than Tony Kanaan, and God bless him too, and I know that Greg has got to be just a part of this victory for those boys today.
When the white flag waved, the emotion was too much. We saw you break down. I mean, you know how much a difficult year this has been for Dario.
It really has been, because he's so clever with the car. He's got such tremendous intuition. The feedback he gives the engineers is incredibly detailed and sensitive, and Alan and he have made such progress. I mean, they were setting it up like a champ car for a long time, you know, on these big ovals, and they just figured it out. And so for the victories to elude them, that was kind of heartbreaking, not to mention the fact he's just the most beautiful, elegant sportsman in the whole world. Should win everything, in my opinion.
And by the way, the mention of Greg Moore. Greg Moore was a driver all of us loved and was a tremendous talent. He lost his life here a few years ago, and he was a very, very close friend of Dario Franchitti. And I've got to believe that he is smiling right now, as is Miss Ashley Judd, as they will head to victory lane and celebrate. Guys?
Dario Franchitti, the 4th career win, 2nd of the season, 11th win this year for Andretti Green Racing, and 1st win on a track longer than 1.3 miles. And I think Ashley just echoed what I've been saying, folks. That should be the new James Bond. Your winner in Fontana, Dario Franchitti. The celebration is just getting underway. We're going to talk to a whole bunch of people when we return to Southern California. Stay with us. Dario Franchitti has won the race, the Toyota Indy 400, and he has taken a roundabout way to victory lane, but he is there nonetheless. Franchitti, his 2nd win this season, picked up the other one in Nashville, Tennessee, but as they came out of turn 4, Scott, I thought it was Tony Kanaan. The run he got, he timed it and drafted perfectly. Here it is one more time.
Amazing to see that perfect timing that he had. Gets the run on the high side. I'm starting to wonder if maybe he got a little light on the throttle, Todd.
Well, let's listen in and see what it sounds like.
You saw him start to look over to the left to see exactly where Dario's car was, talking about teammanship and actually having the opportunity to give something to your teammate that probably could have won quite a few more races this year. Amazing.
Well, what's going on in their camp, we may never know, but all I can say is Tony Kanaan is one classy guy, and there is yet another classy guy. As Ashley said, he is one fine sportsman as we check in with Vince Welch.
Dario Franchitti, tears in the eyes, and he just finished a warm embrace from the man he battled down the stretch, Tony Kanaan, and a little bit of celebration as the rain starts to fall. Dario Franchitti enjoying his second win of the season. And Dario, I've got to ask you about the battle at the end. It almost seemed as though maybe Tony lifted at the end. Did you get the feeling that that happened?
I don't know. I could see his car coming. It's kind of difficult to see there, but I don't know. I'd like to see the replay. He was coming up pretty quick, though. But he was definitely, we were working well together those last couple of laps, just trying to pull away from the other guys.
Any team orders that you were going to win that race today in the battle between the two of you?
No, I wish there were. We certainly talked about if we could help each other, but with Hornish doing so well, it didn't come to that. We couldn't leapfrog him, he couldn't leapfrog Tony. But no, it was a good team effort, and we all worked well together as we do. You can certainly help people around here, but yeah, it's kind of bittersweet winning here.
Why is this victory so important and so significant for you?
Well, I lost a good friend here 6 years ago, and
we know that Greg Moore, your friend, passed away, and we've documented that during the telecast, and you have felt as though maybe this series owed you a few during the course of the season because you've been so close. You feel as though maybe even though your teammate Dan Weldon got the championship, do you feel like this was a championship you could have won?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We had the pace all season, and yeah, AGR cars have been right up there. We just a couple of times with our X car we made a couple of mistakes, and we won't do that next year.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Dario Franchitti, a very emotional victory lane today. Jamie?
Thanks, Vince. Well, the last yellow we saw come out was because of Jacques Lazier and Danica Patrick coming together. Danica is still inside getting her elbow iced. She took quite an impact there, but we do have Jacques Lazier. Jacques, we're going to show you the replay here. We want to get your perspective. We've heard everybody else's opinion on the matter.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sitting down right by the white line down there, and it still doesn't look like I'm moving up any. Very little bit, and I just basically had nowhere to go. I mean, at this point in the race, you're obviously, the tires are getting old, everything's getting old, you're running as hard as you can, and unfortunately happened to me one time previous too. We went into the corner and she ran me right down to the white line and pushed off and almost hit her one other time. It's just, Brian always says you have to give each other room out there, and that's just a situation that I guess stubborn with a couple laps left that she didn't want to give me any room and pinch me down, and there's the result.
Well, it was a great run for you today until the moment. Congratulations, your 50th IndyCar race today.
It's not the way I wanted to end it, and obviously for Target Chip Ganassi Racing and Breast Awareness Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wanted to finish where we were running. We're running in the top 10, a strong run, just everything I wanted, but unfortunately it ended the wrong way.
Thanks, Jacques. Rest up, and we'll see you hopefully back next season. And I do have an update on AJ Foyt IV. He has been released from Loma Linda Hospital. He is okay. That's great news. We want to wish him the best of luck in the Busch Series beginning next weekend. Guys?
Thank you, Jamie. We'll come back and talk to more folks when we return to Fontana after this short break. ESPN's presentation of the Toyota Indy 400 has been brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward. And Vitarin. And we want to remind you this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. And let's check in quickly with Jamie Little.
Well, we just heard Jacques Lazier's side of the story. Now we're going to hear from Danica Patrick. She has been released. She has some ice on her elbow, a little bit sore. But Danica, we're going to show the replay right now, and you tell us what you saw and felt.
Okay, here we go.
What are you seeing here? What are you thinking in your car right now? Are you holding your line, or?
Looks like I'm driving. He's driving. We're all cruising around the corner fine. and we have a barred screen. So.
And we lost our signal. The rain is kind of coming and going out here. What did you see from inside the cockpit?
I mean, I saw nothing. All I know is that I was on the radio all day about him. He was all over the track, and I can understand if he's trying to find clean air when someone's right in front of him. But he would be out the track by himself and all over the place, cutting the air from me, which is basically like cutting me off. And I was complaining all day on the radio about him. And it's no wonder he jumps around ride to ride. I mean, he just, you know, like, it's so frustrating. I mean, you go out there and you just want to race clean, and this guy is just all over the place. So, needless to say, I'm pretty frustrated. I didn't want to end the year like this, but you know, I just hope it was a good show for all the fans and for our sponsors. Argent had an enormous amount of people here, and Honda and Pioneer are also based here. So, you know, hopefully it was a good race for them to watch. It's too bad we couldn't take it home. I think that, you know, when you can see the leaders right in front of you, you always feel like you have a chance. I was glad there was a yellow at the end, and it's an unfortunate ending.
Well, we're glad that you're okay. And, girlfriend, you could take off your rookie stripes. You are now a veteran.
Sometimes that's okay to use, though.
It's a handicap. We're glad that she's okay. Danica Patrick wraps up her first year in the IndyCar Series. Vince?
Tony Kanaan, the champion a year ago, almost had this season-ending race. TK, it sounded on the inboard as if you lifted at the finish line. What happened?
I wish. I don't know what really happened. I think when I went up to upshift, obviously I was in his draft and I made a move. I passed the overtake button and it just the engine had slowed down a little bit. So I don't know what happened, but shame that you know, I haven't won, but the team won. So to lose for a teammate is not that bad. Second place in the championship. So we'll find out what the problem was, but you know, for sure it's one last win.
Incredibly emotional when you came over to victory lane and you hugged Dario. What was your message to him?
A few years ago we lost our best friend here, and I know he's up there somewhere. So Greg, we do love you a lot, and that's what I said. I said hopefully this one was for Greg. So good things happen to good people, and he deserved that.
That's a sentiment felt by many. Thank you, TK. Tony Kanaan. Todd?
Thank you very much. And this was the scene after the race was over. A lot of emotion down there, Scott. And you've been around this because when you lose someone that close to you, what a great way to pay tribute.
And how fitting that Dario Franchitti, the closest friend for these guys, to come across the line first between Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti. Andretti Green, so competitive, so strong all year long, they deserve the championship.
Well, here are the final results from the Toyota Indy 400. Dario Franchitti gets the win, followed by Tony Kanaan and Vitor Meira. Scott Sharp with a strong run up to fourth. Sam Hornish rounds out the day in fifth. And Dan Weldon, your champion, he ends up in sixth place. Buddy Rice, not the year he wanted. He'll regroup and be back in 2006. And he finishes in 12th place. AJ Foyt the fourth, Ed Carpenter, Koski Metzer, and Danica Patrick. Not the way they wanted their days to end. No question about that. And the final standings for the IndyCar Series. Dan Weldon, he clinched it back in Watkins Glen. Tony Kanaan will take second. Sam Hornish Jr. spoils the Andretti Green trifecta, and Dario Franchitti, he grabs fourth place, with Scott Sharp being in fifth. And it has been a memorable year, to say the very least, my friend, and thank you so much for along the way helping me out, because you have been fantastic to work with, one of the best in the business. And your final thoughts in 2005?
You know, I look back on this season, I think about the arrival of Danica Patrick, what a great job that she has done really from the Indianapolis 500 forward, and 704 interviews. From that point forward is a ton of interviews to do. You think about Buddy Rice's accident and the return of Kenny Brack actually after he had turned around and replaced Buddy Rice. I mean, all that situation that goes on, you know, you have a situation where you look at it and just go, we had a safe season for the most part. We'll get ready for next year, because this is one of the most competitive series in the world.
No question about it. We all anxiously look forward to 2006 and another memorable month of May. We look forward to the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500 as you get a look at the series champion Dan Weldon, and that is the prize that he will be getting. What a tremendous performance by Dan Weldon. Well, the hair, he'll have some Aveda product on that momentarily, no question about it. But I do want to say, on behalf of all the fine people, Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, Jamie Little, and Jack Arute, and some of the best people in the business, including our producer, Terry Lingner, and our director, Conrad Piccirillo, and all the hardworking people here at ESPN that bring this to you every week. Thank you so much for enjoying the ride and being with us for part of the ride. We say good night from Fontana, California. Dario Franchitti gets the victory, but it is is that man, Dan Weldon. There has been no more dominant driver in 2005 than Britain's Dan Weldon. He conquered the field, the greatest spectacle in racing, and claimed the overall title in 2005. At the end of an epic journey, we salute number 26, Dan Weldon. Your winner, Dan Weldon.
16 to go, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I just enjoy winning races.
Your winner at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Dan Weldon, picks up the victory. A familiar face in a familiar place. Dan Weldon, he picks up the victory once again in Japan.
It just happens that I've been able to pick up 3 wins along the way, but the Indy 500, I can't wait.
Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500.
This is the Indianapolis 500. It's the best race in the world.
Dan Weldon off of turn number 4. The Englishman will score his 5th win of 2005.
Elio Castroneves on the high side. Weldon on the inside. Weldon will win it. Dan Weldon has won it by 13 thousandths of a second.
The dominant car, the dominant driver, the dominant team.
Dan Weldon has officially become the 2005 IndyCar Series champion.